Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Wow. Hey, fine folks. This is Freedom Fighter. And of course, today is Friday, August the 23rd, 2024. Good vibrations. I love that song choice. Folks, I tell you, we are truly blessed and honored to have the one and only Wiley Morgan with us tonight for a masterclass where Wiley will share a good amount of his knowledge, his experience, his advice. Let me tell you guys something. It was funny. In the room the other day, we had a dance party, cut a little dance off. We said, hey, how many of you guys want to, if you guys want to have some time with Wiley, let's show it by doing some dance moves in the room with a nice little gift party. And people started dancing. All the dance moves came coming. Lo and behold, you folks didn't know, this is something that Wiley thought about and kind of planned for a little over a month in advance. For those that may not know, who are here on the call tonight, Wiley he considers himself a regular member in the room of the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room. As humble as he is, we will always consider him VIP and very special. About a month and a half or so ago, he had let me know he would be willing to do a call sometime in August. And this was, I think, the end of June, beginning of July. And he said he wanted to wait and see some things that within July, and then in August, he would be willing to do a call. So he confirmed with me the other day that he still was willing to do a call. And folks, just know that we are all so very fortunate to be within an elite group and an elite circle, to have Goldilocks, Wiley, and Jester in our midst. Wiley hasn't done a call in almost 2 years. You guys we are very, very fortunate that he was willing to do this. A little background on Wiley for those that may not know. Wiley is a former Army Ranger Special Ops. He toured in Iraq. I don't know wherever else he may share that with you if he can. I remember when he and I were in the other room. As a matter of fact, in the other room, it was Wiley that when I joined the other room, I believe it was May or June of last year, around late June, early July, if I recall. I was helping out in the room and sharing some of my knowledge and experience as it relates to the RV, and based on my background and experience. And Wiley had reached out to me and recommended that I take a more leadership role in that other room. And Wiley took me under his wing, and he really, and I credit him for truly teaching me and showing me how to communicate in the Telegram room, I had no idea how to really communicate in a certain way before, as far as educating people. So Wiley is one that believes to not give someone fish because they'll just eat for a day. He believes in teaching you how to fish so you eat for life. And that is the model that I follow. And that's one of the reasons why, in the way in which, I educate in the room, is to really teach you how to fish. But I got that skill set from learning and watching Wiley. Also, a lot of what I learned as it pertains to the RV, I learned from Wiley as well. So with Wiley, Goldilocks, and Jester, I can truly say I'm very fortunate and blessed to learn so much from them. Despite of what I may have known before, is nothing in comparison to what they know. Wiley, now back to his background and experience. Wiley was an advisor to the Iraqi government, particularly the Kurdistan region. And he has some humanitarian projects that he was responsible for in Iraq. Also, as far as his level of knowledge and experience related to the RV, Wiley participated in the Kuwaiti RV. And as it pertains to the new transfer of wealth and the new RV GCR that is more global, Wiley has been at the table with some of the major decision makers in the process. I don't know all of the details, but I do know that he participated in some very high-level discussions, developments in the very early stages of the RV process, to where he is truly an insider. Not only is he an insider, Wiley is truly well known, and I'd even like to really say dinar land in the same breath as Wiley Morgan, but just so that you'll understand, dinar land, not only is he well known, he's well respected, and also he's well feared. Why? Because he knows so much about the truth about the RV and willing to share it. That is why he is so feared. Many people listen to the circle intel, and with that, it's easy and comfortable. Wiley, especially as a former ranger in special ops and serving our country, he understands and is willing to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And with that comes from telling the truth. And so with someone such as Wiley, who's so well regarded and revered, it is truly an honor that he is willing to take this time to be with us, to share his wisdom and partake his knowledge. I encourage you all to, if you have a notepad, if you have a piece of a piece of paper, if you don't, you might want to prick your finger and get some blood and take some notes, because it's truly an honor, like I said. And so when you have someone like Wiley on a Friday evening, someone like Jester, myself, who on Saturday, and Jester in the evenings, and Goldilocks throughout the day, you are truly fortunate and blessed. Please, please do not take this time for granted, that Wiley is going to be sharing with you all. And without further ado, Wiley, I believe you are here. Oh, I saw you, and now I don't. Or you play it in hide and seek.
You can unmute.
Okay, there you go. You can unmute now, my good man.
You can hear me?
There you go. We can hear you.
Excellent. Well, I guess you said everything. We can kind of wrap up for the night.
I did. Wow.
No, it's a privilege for me to be here, kind of share some of the things I've learned over the years. Not so much RV GCR related per se now, but these are some of the things I've learned over the years of being involved in this, as well as kind of moving forward. I've had the luxury of being able to move into the project sphere and do a lot of projects and different things like that. So I wanted to share some of those lessons, talk a little bit about that. I've shared some of those, and some in this room, your room, have shared with me their ideas, and all great. And I have some experience in some of those. I'd like to share a little bit of that tonight too, if I can. And then maybe at the end we can do some Q&A and go from there.
Excellent. Your volume is kind of low, Wiley. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a little.
Is that better?
Are you putting your radio voice on for the ladies? I don't know. I don't know what you're doing.
No, I only have one lady, and that's enough.
All right. I think you're a little better now.
Alrighty. This might seem kind of redundant to some of you. To me, it's important because it's going to have a big factor in the way you go about moving forward in a lot of this post-exchange. A lot of it you could do now. But I'd really like to talk about our social circles. Those are very important in who we surround ourselves with. And I like to think of these like concentric circles or ripples in a pond. When I start with that, I usually start with family. Those are the people that will keep it real with you. Now, I know there's various different forms of family, and sometimes the next circle is our friends, and those friends bleed into the family a little bit. But the first one's family. And what I learned kind of the hard way, and not to disparage my family, but I've had to learn to say no. And it's tough for them to hear, but I go back to the old adage, if someone's irresponsible with their money, they're going to be twice as irresponsible with your money. So as much as we want to help everybody, we simply can't. And I applaud those that want to and will, but I've learned that you have to encourage your family and friends that want to surround themselves with you, that there's no free rides. They got to have some skin in the game and willing to be doing some work so that they can reap some of that reward for themselves. It's tough. I mean, I have 6 close friends that I hang out with, and 3 of them asked me one day at a breakfast, because we do a monthly breakfast. We all get our bikes, we head out to a barbecue place, we have breakfast, and 3 of these guys said, "Hey, Wiley, what are you doing? I see you. I see your life. I want that." And I told all 6 of them. 3 of them took me up on it. I introduced those people that could help them, and 3 jumped on it, 3 did not. And now, 3 years later, those 3 are now retired in their 40s. So they were able to take, just by the introductions and applying some of the things that I've learned from people, and doing that, they've been able to move into bigger and better things, and they've started projects of their own as well. My other 3 friends are starting to come around going, "Hey, we'd like to be retired too." So, and I had a conversation with somebody in the room about this. I won't call them out, but we have a heart for everybody. We want to help everybody. But it leads me to the old saying I learned in the military, that no matter how hard you want to, you'll never save everybody. That's not your job. Mm-hmm. So with that, I'd like to move to the next circle. I think we've kind of covered family. I know you spoke about this on one of your calls with, I believe it was Anastasia, and talking about that, your family and friends and who we surround ourselves by a little bit. The friends one's a little different, because I like to think people that come into that social circle, they're there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And we really never know what that's going to be. That's just how I like to categorize these people. Some people are just there for a brief bit. We learn from them, and sometimes we outgrow them or they outgrow us, and that's fine. But it's those lifetime friends. Those are the ones you really keep close. They're the ones to keep it real with you, tell you the truth, and we all need to have those truth tellers in our life. I'd like to share a little story real quick with you about one of my good friends who's since moved away. He won the Missouri State Lottery, and it wasn't a ton of money. I want to say it was like $3-4 million after he paid his taxes and stuff. But he was very open about it. He went on, and they took his picture and everything, posted it on the internet. He had a small little bit on the news, and he ran a mechanic shop, pretty well-to-do mechanic shop, and he did very well. But after he'd done that, people stopped paying for their services. People expected things to be fixed for free, and people would just tell him, "Hey, you can afford it. I can't afford this. You fixed my car. You got money." And it was just sad. And he ultimately wound up selling his business to a couple of the guys that worked for him, and he moved out of state and he changed his last name to his wife's maiden name because so many people were coming for him because of what he had, because he was so vocal, he was so open about it. He never anticipated everybody coming for him, everybody wanting something that he had, whether they would work for it or not. Now, and they would say, "Hey, you didn't work for it, you didn't earn it." That's just life. That's how people are going to be. And it was so sad that a good friend of mine had to close up his shop, sell it to some friends, and move out of state. But it kind of goes to the saying, not everybody needs to know what you're doing. And that's very important. Sometimes it's good just to kind of keep some things to ourselves. And just some of the things I've learned through him and what happened to him. So I stay and a bit humble about what it is I do. Let's move on from the friends one. And if you guys got questions about this, we can talk about this in the Q&A. And that next one is what I call our business contacts. Those are the people that we contact on a regular basis that we're conducting business with. I don't talk to them all the time, but there's guys that I know are experts in certain areas, and I always reach out to those people and say, "Hey, this is what I'm looking at doing. I know you're kind of in this. Can you kind of give me some feedback, some guidance, things like that?" So those business contacts, I wouldn't classify them as friends, but they're on the periphery of that you're going to lean on those people, and you're going to want to pick their brains and talk to them and find out where their challenges were, where their struggles were, what their successes were. And most of the time, they'll talk to you about it. Moving from that circle, talk about the professional services. And what I mean by that, and this is going to be one of the most important to everybody, and there's several people in this that you're going to really want. That's a lawyer, legal counsel, a tax advisor, a wealth manager, and your banker. These are all people that I have on speed dial. And I've got a couple lawyers. I got a criminal and a civil, just because I've had people come after me for certain things, just trivial. With success comes that. It's inevitable. No matter what you do, you're going to have people nipping at your heels, or what I call the backseat drivers. They always want to tell you they could have done it better, or been more successful, but yet they didn't do it. They weren't doing it. And to those that ask me, I tell them, "Hey, if people are talking behind your back, don't worry about it. You're already ahead of them. Keep going. Just keep doing your thing." In the wealth manager aspect, he's going to be able to really guide you to help you protect your money. And it's very important, as one of the first things you do, is to protect your money. It's the most important thing you do after this. You protect it, and you get these people to help you understand how they can help you make money on your money. And you really want to become disciplined and principled in heeding that advice. I mean, I don't always heed my wealth manager's advice. He gives me great advice, and I go off and do something different. And for instance, I had some money set aside. I wanted to buy a new car, a luxury car. And he told me, "Oh, I could do this with that. I could do this with that." And I didn't do it. And I bought the car. And I mean, it just depreciated like nobody's business. And he's never let me hear the end of that. But that's because I have a great relationship with him, that he's willing to say things like that to me. And I respect that. And I appreciate it, because that's the person I should listen to the most. And I'm not saying you shouldn't go enjoy your money. You should, absolutely. But protect it first by all means. As far as the legal counsel, that really came about differently for me. I had a friend that was an attorney, and I never really leaned on him for the attorney aspects until I would run into personal issues. And the one I really ran into was my daughter got her car towed, and she was in this little touristy town. They towed her car. I didn't know if it was stolen or whatnot. I didn't hear anything about it. Till my daughter said, "Hey, my car's gone. Can you come give me a ride home?" And I went and picked her up, and I said, "Where's your car?" She goes, "I don't know." Well, come to find out, it was several days later, happened on a Friday. And then it was like Monday or Tuesday, I had this tow company call me and say, "Hey, you owe us, $600 for tow fee and storage in our lot." And I'm like, wow, this is unexpected. And I would just happen to be at the cigar bar with my buddy, and all these lawyers hang out together with the judges. And it just worked out that I listen a lot to what these guys are talking about. You want to know what's going on in your community? Hang out with those guys. They know everybody's business. And I was telling him about my problem. And he goes, "Well, here's what you do. Just go down to Avis or Hertz, get one of their contracts, take their name completely off of it, and send the bill. Send that to them because they have your car." I'm like, "What? Is that legal?" He said, "Yeah." He goes, "It's your property, and they took it without your say-so. You're charging them for the rental of it." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to give this a try." And I did it. I had the car back that evening. And I'm just like, wow, this works. And it was one of those things where it's like, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes just that little piece of advice somebody can give you can help you along the way. And I'm just thinking like, wow, I just thought my friend was just, attorney, did his thing. And lo and behold, it worked out to my benefit. So I've always kept him around. He's been good, especially for traffic tickets for my daughter. She's going to be doing shoe leather here for too long. She keeps getting a few tickets. So, but in that, after legal advisor, we'll talk about your banker. Banks are changing. We all kind of understand that. I think banks are going to wind up more as service centers, long-term speaking. However, it's good to have a rapport with a banker. I trust the banker I deal with. I've dealt with him for a long time. I've got multiple accounts at different banks, but there's one banker in particular I kind of click with and sync with. So I try to talk to him a lot, as much as possible. Pick his brain about things, and he'll be the first to tell me he knows nothing about what's going on. He truly don't. He's just a branch manager. They have an inkling. They've done some training, and I've known this for years. I knew a banker out of Nebraska, and he became a pretty good friend. And he would tell me once a month, he'd have to go to Atlanta to do training for this RVGCR process. And that had been going on for almost a decade. And he's since retired from that, and he went into buying gold and silver. So I really don't have a good indication if they're still doing that trading or not. But for a number of years, he was attending training for that. And this is back when nobody wanted to acknowledge this was going on. So your tax advisor, another key person. He's going to be the guy that's going to be able to help you and keep you out of trouble at the same time. He's going to be the one that's going to make sure you can write off what you can write off, and he's going to keep you above board in what he does do for you, so you're not violating anything. And these guys are paid to stay abreast of all the current regulations and all that. Very important to have, very important to talk to. And I know I hear a lot from people, how do I go about finding one, or how do I get one? It's just one of those things. Go in and introduce yourself. Just talk to him like we're talking, and just say, "Hey, this is where I'm at. I'd like to have somebody I can start doing my taxes for me," and you'll be surprised. A lot of these guys are there to help.
Establish a relationship.
Yep. Go out there and establish that. Start visiting with them. They're people just like you, and they talk to newcomers all the time. This is nothing new for them. And you're going to find some guys that you'll sync with and click with, and ultimately you might wind up having a great relationship with. Then kind of in that, and this won't be for everybody, I kind of keep what I call my international banking contacts. I kind of keep them in there. Those are some of the guys I've met through investing and things like that. Kind of the bigger banks, international stuff I do, whether it's HSBC or Barclays or some of the stuff I do overseas. So I kind of keep them in there, but kind of lump to their own side, because I really talk to them more about what's going on policy-wise that's affecting what we're going through right now. Sometimes they'll share, most times they won't, but you never know. You can pick up little pieces every now and then. Mm-hmm. And that's just really kind of how I've laid out my social circles. And I say this tonight because you're going to need to surround yourself with all these different various people. And it may sound burdensome or cumbersome, but it really isn't. Once you kind of could set those circles and you get a feel for working within those, it'll just become second nature to you. Like, oh, I need to call this guy, or I need to call this guy. Lucky for me, a couple of these guys know each other, especially my wealth manager and my CPA. They are tied well close together. So it's really beneficial. It just worked out for me that way. I didn't plan it, but if you can find somebody that does both, that'd be even better. It's rare that you'll find somebody that can. So I would just start out with getting a wealth manager and a CPA. 2 people. Let me shift here a little bit, and I'd like to talk about the wealth management piece just for a minute. And that's, your wealth manager is really going to be able to help you in looking at investments, what's available, and what they can do to grow your wealth and to help you make money on money. And in that, you're going to start finding yourself in these different circles of influence, and you're going to start hearing about what other people are doing. And you hear this stuff, and you're kind of like, didn't mean to eavesdrop, but can I hear a little bit more about that? What are you doing? Who would I contact to learn more about that? And they're like, oh, well, I can turn you on to that. So I usually call that person. I'll say, hey, I kind of overheard this. I heard you were doing this different program. Can I get the information on that? And when I do get that, there's several things I look at. I look at what's the initial investment or the cost. Then I look at time or duration that my money's going to be tied up. The third thing I want to know is what's my return. I mean, those are the key things we all want to know, right? Mm-hmm. But in that, I kind of look for some specific things. I want to know, what are the protections? Is there a contract that speaks very clearly to what my returns are going to be, contractually speaking, so I know exactly what my returns are either per week or per month? And then sometimes you'll find some of these that have an insurance wrap. And I really like those because if they don't perform, I'm still covered. I'm not going to lose. And this is where the big people play. And you will find these will come across your view later down the road as you become a little more savvy in the wealth management side. Next, I really want to know who's operating it. You know, is it a tier 1 bank? Who am I working with? Who's running it? That's always key, because some of these guys that I've run across are not the best managers of some of the funds they have. And then I want to know who's the paymaster in it. I know there's good paymasters. There's some ones out there not so scrupulous where they will start taking percentages that aren't contractually in there. And then kind of who's behind it, whether there's, like I said, insurers or if there's an underwriter. And those are very key. These are the things, and this is what I've learned through some of the big dogs out there I've run into, and they want guarantees. They aren't stock market types. They aren't, hey, I'm going to invest my money in here and they're guaranteeing me, 7% for the year. These are some big players that know how to make things move. These are the guys that will get into these programs and turn around and build a football stadium with the proceeds. I mean, yeah, build hotels, these are the big players. I mean, these are the guys that wear, $5,000 suits. they're willing to talk about this, but this is a very, very private area, but it exists. And your wealth managers will know some of this. Not all of them will, but some of them will. And I just want to put this in your mind that that's going to be there, but just kind of as an overview, just on the periphery, what you want to look for, and you want to look for guaranteed returns. So, and I'm willing to talk about this more as we move down the road later. And somebody wants to know, I'm always happy to help people in this area, because this ain't stuff where you're going to see a banner. This ain't stuff where you're going to see a billboard. This ain't stuff that's just going to fly off everybody's tongue. This is the kind of stuff that's invite only, and this is where real money's made. And I tell a lot of people that if you knew this existed, and if everybody knew this existed, man, it'd be a whole different ballgame. Let's skip on out of that. Talk about some projects for a little bit. Yeah, I've done a lot of projects overseas. In that, I will tell you what I've learned is it's always best to start smaller, and I always believe citizenship starts in your community, and to find that need in your community and fill that and become successful at that, and then grow from there. Had a good friend of mine came to me and told me about this issue in Kurdistan, and I jumped on it with her, and we started a board of directors. And unfortunately, that board of directors wanted to turn it into a dinar intel call, and I fired everybody.
Wow.
I had to fire them. And that's going to be one of these things, challenges and hurdles you guys are going to find. Not a lot of these people are going to have the same mission you have. So you're going to have to surround yourself with people that understand the mission and are clear on the mission and aren't going to self-sabotage you internally, because that's what was kind of happening with the first board, and I had to start from the ground up to make it work. So starting just kind of locally, and I say this because I see some great projects that people want to roll out nationally so fast, and those can be challenging as their own, not as challenging as going overseas. Overseas, you're going to have to get involved with the State Department. You're going to have to get with a lot of people. When you try moving goods or services, you're talking logistics. I mean, you're talking thousands. I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars to do this stuff. And you're just seeing you're having to raise a lot of money just to see the end result. And I mean, trust me, you'll pull your hair out at that one. Nationally, some of these issues are still there, but you're not having to work with governments and things like that to make things happen. So I would always encourage people to dream big, think big, but perfect it at the smaller level. Just one of those comes to mind, just one locally. And I was talking to a wealth manager friend of mine, and I was talking to about, I'd love to put some of these veterans that can't afford to go to these football games. I'd love to buy a box seat, put veterans, and give them and their spouse a night out for something they couldn't afford. Because most veterans live on very fixed income, especially the wounded warrior types. Not wounded warriors specifically. I'm not a big fan of theirs. But these wounded warriors that exist out there, they're from all walks of our military branches. And when you see them, we would invite them and their spouse, and we would invite them into football games. We would get the airfare. We would cover all that. It was usually by private jet. We'd send a private jet for them, treat them from a VIP. From the minute they got on the tarmac, they were greeted by the flight crew, put on board, flown to the event. They were limoed to the event, and they were catered to the whole time in that box thing. We were able to take what we call Class 4 veterans. These are the guys that are in a shell. They don't speak. They're startled at most everything. And we've taken a lot of those guys and moved them out of that Class 4 rating up to a Class 1 or a Class 2. And that's where they're able to start rebuilding their lives and become productive members of society again. And it's so great to see that out of just one thing we were able to do. I wasn't able to do that just because of the cost. It was cost prohibitive for me. But this guy, it wasn't for him. So he took that on and did that. And it was absolutely phenomenal. And I encourage you all, take that idea. It's yours. one of the ones that's kind of near and dear to me, and I don't remember who told me this. I think it was one of our members from South Africa, has a dog program. And a lot of people don't know that I was involved in a dog program out of Texas. And we took all the retired governmental military service dogs. A lot of people don't know dogs can be very traumatized and get PTSD themselves. And in that, we took those dogs that just could not be adopted or were unadoptable, and we located them to a place in Texas. When we ran that program, the biggest two costs we found were veterinary costs and food costs. And we reached out to a couple local veterinarians to come in on a rotating basis because we just could not find one that was willing to come on board and be a part of that staff, because most of them already had their own businesses and were doing that, but they were gracious enough to come spend a day or two at this place in Texas. Now, that has since gone under, and it wasn't because we didn't have funding. I mean, we did a lot of grant writing to get monies and things like that for it, but we did a lot of grant writing to get food. And Purina and Alpo and some of those ones out there were generous enough to donate this stuff because they could write it off on their charitable givings under the corporate needs and become a tax deduction for them. But the reason it failed is because the guy that was truly running it developed cancer, and we had to relocate all those dogs. And I think we were talking like 200-300 dogs, and we didn't want them to wind up in kill shelters. So I spent about 6 months with the help of a lot of other people that we get all these dogs relocated around the country and into good programs where they wouldn't just be put down and they could live out their days in a nice area, run free and just kind of do what dogs do. In that, we found that when we hired veterans to come in and work with these dogs, because they've been around these dogs, they understand these are working animals. They have to have a taskmaster. They have to have somebody that's going to push them, because that's what these dogs were geared at. They don't make the best pets. But in that, we gave veterans purpose again. And these veterans started rehabilitating themselves as they were rehabilitating these animals, just due to the fact we gave them responsibilities. And that responsibility to be responsible for something other than themselves. And I don't know if anybody works in this area. It's truly a marvel to see. You can really see veterans start to rebuild their lives. In the veteran aspect, it should go to say, don't forget about the spouses or the caregivers for these veterans, and that they're often overlooked because people don't understand that person's going through what the veteran's going through, and they're putting a lot of their life aside to tend to these veterans' needs. So if you're going to do a veterans program, I would encourage you to think about spa days. And this is something we found. We did spa days or things like that where we'd send the ladies out, and some were men, and we sent them out for spa days, and we just covered the cost, sent them to a spa, and just said, give them the works. And it can be changing for those people to get a day and get a break away from that grind and that routine they're doing daily. And it's one of those things that you can't just rebuild the veteran. You have to rebuild the family unit, because even though the veteran's changed, the family has it. And when he comes home, there's a communication disconnect. And that's why we're seeing such a high divorce rate and suicide rate amongst veterans, because their world's falling apart, the family's falling apart, and they don't know how to put it back together. And this is where our VA falls so short. Don't get me wrong, the VA is a great program. It's made strides, but there's a lot of improvement there. And I myself go to the VA for all my health care. Matter of fact, when I met my wife, I thought, hey, I'm doing great. I'm making it. I'm all right. And I met my wife, and we started dating and everything. When I asked her to marry me, she said, I'm willing to take this journey with you, but you got to get some help. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you got some issues. Some luggage you need to unload. And I'm like, no, I'm functioning. I'm great. She goes, really? And I said, tell you what, I love you enough. I'll go check this out. I will look into this. I will make that commitment for you, and I'll go do this. And lo and behold, I was off the charts for PTSD. I was just what they called a functioning veteran with PTSD. And I was very abrasive in the way I spoke to people, because that's what military of 2 decades will do to you. You're just very, very direct. And sometimes what you say can come off very terse, even though you don't mean it to be like that. It comes off that way. And I have a good friend that I talk to quite a bit, almost every week. She'll tell me that. She'll tell me, "Oh, you're just, kind of tough to deal with today." And I take that to heart, because that goes back to my social circle. That's somebody who's willing to keep it real with me. And I appreciate that about those people who are willing to do that. But in that, and this is what brings me to my point, to one of your calls you did, Freedom Fighter, with Anastasia, and I think it was talking about love languages. Mm-hmm. And I took that course within the VA with my spouse so we could learn to communicate with one another, because I found that we would disagree. It wouldn't be a full-blown argument, but we learned how to just say, "Hey, let's table this. Let's come back to it." And we agreed on just a statement like, "Hey, let's table it." That was our statement. And we'd come back at a later point. And I remember one specifically, we were disagreeing about something. I thought I was right. She thought she was right. And we took what we adopted from that course. We said, "Hey, let's table this. Let's come back." So we made dinner together, and we let it go. It wasn't rubbing us, you know what I mean? Like we were just kind of at odds with each other. We just kind of went about our business and agreed to it. And she sits down at the table and she goes, "Hey, I want to apologize. I've had some time to think about it, and I think you were right." And in my twisted sense of humor, I looked at her and I said, "Well, I'm glad we both agree that you're the problem in this relationship." and she just busts out laughing. And she says, "There's just, she goes, that's what I love about you. You can take things and twist them and turn them to where you can make light of it, but I'll take it to heart so we learn from it." And I think that's key, that no matter who we're talking to or what we're doing, communication is the key in everything. It's great in our friendships, our family relationships, as well as our business relationships. And I had somebody tell me one time, and I always took it to heart, is we oftentimes listen to respond, and we don't listen to just listen. And that really hit home with me. Like, sometimes people just need to talk. Sometimes they just need to unburden what's on them, and they confide in you with it. And sometimes our job's just to listen. And that's a skill set I'm still working on. And I encourage everybody to kind of maybe look at that a little bit and just think about that as we navigate those interpersonal relationships we have and business relationships we have, because it's not always how we respond. Because sometimes I've responded and it's been so off the mark that it creates conflict. And the last thing we want is conflict. I had somebody in the room tell me I navigate things like water, which was very flattering to hear. I couldn't believe, I'm not going to mention his name. I don't want to put him on the spot, but I never looked at my life like that. But I think since I've left the corporate world and moved into being retired, and I have all this time on my hand to do these various different things, I looked at that and I said, I kind of do tend to move through things pretty relatively easily, because I have that time to look and reflect and communicate. And it wasn't always that way. I think when we have so much on our plate, we're doing so much that we get caught up in it all. Speaking of the dog program, and this is mainly for the U.S. audience. I know we got quite a wide audience, but there is a program in Colorado, and I know Bob Barker was a huge proponent of this, and he helped these guys a lot with their funding. But in a lot of our different states, it's become illegal to own a wolf dog or a wolf hybrid. A lot of these, I don't know if anybody's been around a wolf. They are far larger than a normal canine or a typical, what you would think is a domesticated animal. But wolves get, for whatever reason, they get bred and they get put out there, and these people raise them, and then they don't know what to do with them. These things can just, they're not a typical dog. And there's this place in Colorado that adopts these dogs from all over, and they put them in this environment. And if you know anything about wolves, wolves are pack animals. But however, you take all these different wolves and these different packs, you can't form them into a new pack. It don't work that way. So what this program did was took a lot of these wolves and they put caretakers, a lot of veterans who were lone wolves themselves. And these animals and these caretakers have formed a bond. And it's so unique to see these guys around these wolves. And you just think, oh my God, that guy's in that cage with that wolf. And you think it's aggressive the way this dog or a wolf's acting. You're like, this guy's going to rip to shreds. But it's just the wolf's way of playing and associating and relating to his caregiver. And it's amazing to see. It's out in Colorado. I'm sorry I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I think it's the Colorado Wolf and Wildlife Rescue, but there are tours available to that. What a great program. Anybody's going to get in some dog programs, I'd encourage you to go look at that, see what they're doing. I had a very enjoyable time picking their brains, what was working, what didn't work, what have they learned. Absolutely phenomenal. So that's just one of my recommendations. Another one that I don't talk about a lot. I don't talk to a lot of my friends about this one because it really wasn't my idea. I just helped the guy with the funding, and he was a veteran, and he found that art therapy worked best for him. And he bought a warehouse in the inner city, in the art district, and he started doing art therapy classes. He didn't charge anything for them. It's just like, hey, come in, and it's shown to really work. Art therapy and coloring is really good for veterans to kind of isolate from their intrusive thoughts that they get. And in that, he was talking to me, and he's like, hey, I have all this warehouse space. What do I do with this? And I said, hey, I'm willing to help you go out here on a limb, but let's do some cooking classes. Let's get the veteran and spouse involved, and let's build some kitchens in here, and let's make it to where we can make a veterans community internal to Kansas City, where these guys have other veterans who are going through similar things. And now you've built a community again for the veterans. Veterans are very, how should I say, we work in teams a lot. And when you leave your team or you leave your unit, that team structure is no longer there, and it's you against the world, and that's how you feel. And it's sad to say, and this is one of the areas that the VA falls short in, is when these guys go to get the benefits they've earned, VA will run you through a grinder just to navigate the endless paperwork for the benefits that they've already earned. And they will just challenge you to where a lot of veterans just give up. And it's just so sad. And there's companies out there that help veterans with this, but they charge so much for this. And I would encourage people who are looking at this to think about that and maybe set up some of this stuff, that if that's where your passion is, to help these veterans navigate that. And sometimes it just takes getting some attorneys involved to help. There's attorneys out there that do this type of work, but then again, they work on percentage basis, and then a lot of these veterans can't afford it. So that's another area. Of course, I don't want to talk a lot about the veterans just because I have a lot of skin in that game, and I have a heart for a lot of them. And don't be afraid to learn about grant writing. It always don't have to be your dollars into it. There's a lot of grants out there that you can apply for and get, and these are just there, and a lot of money just never goes to use because we don't know about them, and we don't. I think it's the fear of getting rejected, of hearing no, but you write enough grant paper, you get good enough at it, then you'll start doing it like nothing. You'll write 2 or 3 a week. I wrote a grant for a daycare my children used to go to, and they wanted some outdoor play equipment. I wrote the grant, got it, and got the outdoor play equipment. Now, I didn't realize that it wasn't going to be set up, and because I wrote the grant, this daycare center is calling me saying, hey, can you come set up these awnings and all this outdoor play equipment? And I'm like, oh, great. So I had to call some friends, and I called some fellow parents that had children at the daycare, and we set all this equipment up for the school, the daycare, and just found that it was sometimes it's just willing to take that leap and write a grant, and you can get that funding, and you make a difference in somebody's life. Mm-hmm. If I can, real quick, I'd like to talk about not everyone needs to know what you're doing. And in that means you can do things very privately and anonymously to where people don't need to know everything. And one of them that specifically comes to mind is one I'd read about, and it's been some time since I've seen it, and that was the founder of Little Caesars Pizza, Mike Ilitch was his name, and he paid for Rosa Parks' rent for over 10 years. And he never told anybody. And when he had learned that she had been beaten and robbed in her home in Detroit back in 1994, he moved her into a safer apartment. He established a trust to cover her housing expenses until she passed in 2005. And it was never known until after he died that he had done that. So sometimes it's just about the kindness, and people don't forget that kindness. And that goes back to what I always say, kindness doesn't cost anybody anything.
Exactly.
And I'd like to just kind of wrap up here just a bit and just speak about money. And there's a saying in the financial world, I've heard it more than once, and it's called pig butchery. And it's mainly online, and it's a scam where people scam you out of money. And it's happened to a lot of people. Bankers have done this to their own clients. Matter of fact, one happened out in I want to say Western Kansas, where the guy was scamming people monies out of their accounts, their life savings, and he was buying crypto with it in his own name. It almost drove the bank into default, but these people are still in legal suits trying to get that money back. And this was everything they had. And the term that comes to mind, and I hear it more often times than not in where I'm talking to wealth managers, they make the comment, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. Yeah. And it's like, you'll never go broke making a profit. But if we just get too greedy and become a hog, man, you can put some eyes on you that you don't want. And that's where people will come at you, and you're going to hear a lot of different things. You're going to hear sob stories. You're going to hear all kinds of things. So be cognizant of that. I don't encourage you, and I think I heard one guy say he's going to stand outside of a Walmart and hand out $100 bills. Absolutely do not do that.
No.
And I'll tell you about one program I've got, and I encourage everybody to steal it. I really do, because one person can't do this all. It's a program that I call ORAK, O-R-A-K. I call it One Random Act of Kindness. And it's a simple, go to a bank, I established a fund, and I says, hey, I want you to produce debit cards for me. And I want them in these different denominations. And in that, I hand those out. I see a single mom struggling to buy groceries, I'll put one out. I see a first responder in a restaurant and I was a little too late and I wasn't able to pick up his dinner, I'll go over and say, sorry to interrupt, but I would have bought your dinner had I been here 5-10 minutes sooner, but please accept this on me and have your next dinner on me. Like, firefighters are the ones that always tell me, no, I can't do that. And that's where I say, okay, what's your favorite barbecue place in the city? What station you at? And I'll send just about everything on the menu for the number of guys they have at the station that night. And I do this off the gift card program. Now, it's pretty nondescript. It just has the bank's name on it, has a denomination on it, and I simply put on the front, God has not forgotten you. He sent me. That's it. You can lay it down. People don't feel like you're trying to give them something or there's strings attached. You just say, hey, I think you need this more than me. And God told me that I was in the right place at the right time. Leave it and walk off. And I encourage everybody to steal that. Don't steal the name, but develop your own program. Things like that. It changes lives. And it's that truly ripple effect, because that person's going to think, wow, I didn't know kindness still existed. So that's kind of the key points I wanted to talk to tonight. I know I talked about a lot of different things. And if anyone has any questions on that, I'm willing to take them, or ideas, or whatever they want to discuss.
All right. You ready to open up for some Q&A?
Yeah, if they want to do some Q&A, we can do that.
Okie dokie. All right, folks, just feel free, raise your hand, and let's get you on and take advantage of the opportunity while you have Wiley here and ask your questions. All right, Rachel, I see you, and then I'll get everyone else in queue. All right, Rachel G, you can feel free to unmute and ask your question. There you go, Rachel. Rachel, you might be having a little bit of technical difficult. Oh, I think we just lost Rachel. Okay. She'll come back. Next person, feel free to raise your hand and we'll come right to you.
My apologies, guys. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you now.
Thank you. I was on my computer and my microphone doesn't work over there, and I totally forgot. I just want to say thank you to Wiley and you, Freedom, for doing this. This is a basic starting point for someone who has no knowledge of how to do, what to do, when to do, etc. And I must say, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for educating us this way.
You know, and there's no right way or wrong way to do this. This is what's worked for me. This is what I've shown some of my friends to do, and how to build these rapport with these other people that otherwise they wouldn't otherwise have gotten. And it's a great starting point. And you're going to feel out your own way and best way and being yourself to navigate these things. And there's always going to be a learning curve. There's always a learning curve.
Okay.
But ask questions. Always ask questions. If you don't understand it, ask again.
Getting the professionals connected, getting me connected to the professionals that will assist me here in making the right choice and choosing those individuals to help support the environment that I'm headed in was key tonight. And it really means a lot for you to take time out of your schedule to do this for us. So thank you.
I'm happy to help, Rachel. This is one of those areas I don't see a lot of people talking about, but this is going to be very, very beneficial and crucial to people moving in the future. A lot of people have already have this ironed out. Many don't. And I hear from a lot of people, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm nervous. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Walk in, be yourself, be genuine, be open with the person and tell them, hey, this is where I'm at.
Certainly. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Blessed a life. You can unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for all of this great information, Wiley. And I like I like a lot of what you said. I have a whole page full of notes, but the dream big and start small, within your community. One of the things that I have on my heart to do is to have housing for single moms and children. And so I'm wondering, I have not even thought about maybe starting small with that would be maybe just somehow providing them with part of the money for them to live somewhere. I've been thinking, I need to get a whole group of people together and build these homes and a community, that just did seem overwhelming. So I don't know how do you quantify what's too big and maybe what's too small?
Can I toss some other ideas at you real quick and how to start this perhaps?
Great.
look at some of your earned income housing development projects that you have in your area. And there's a lot of them in a lot of different small communities where you have this low income housing. Go to them and say, hey, I'm willing to sponsor XYZ number of families.
Okay.
And start, say, who's on your list? Who do you have that and because many people qualify for this, but they don't even have the basic needs to pay for the housing. So if you come forth and say, hey, I will pay a year's rent or 2 years rent for XYZ number of people, that starts in your community.
Okay.
And that's one way to go.
Yeah. Awesome. I have not thought of that, something that's already developed that seems to be working. And I can see how partnering with that.
And you know what? I always encourage partnerships with things that already exist. Okay. It's not always about trying to build things from the ground up. Sometimes it's about seeing the need and just helping to facilitate that need. You can do it very privately and anonymously if you so choose. Some people don't want their names out there, and that's fine. Sometimes anonymity is the best.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for that.
And you can always build up into that. You can always develop that. I mean, let me tell you about a program I had, and it kind of went by the wayside because the originator of it had passed away. But we had a project where we worked hand in hand with the Texas governor, and we were acquiring the old Budweiser plant in North Dallas. We were going to do manufactured homes, and we had acquired some property that we were looking at with, again, the help of the governor and some people in the state of Texas, and we're going to build a veterans community. And we were looking at 32 houses with everything of having everything in one location for the veteran, rehab, doctor, that would come in and see these guys. And it was a great idea, but you're talking a lot of money, a lot of moving parts, a lot of logistics. And we had a full project plan around it and everything. We had a lot of people on board, but the real, I want to say, matriarch of the person that had it, it was her dream, but it kind of fell by the wayside after her passing. So it really never, it got off the ground, but not everybody had the legs or the time or the depth to go in and help facilitate that. It just fell by the wayside. There's all great good ideas, but I like to tell people, don't become so married to your idea that when it's not working, keep throwing money at it, because sometimes money's not going to fix it, and you're just going to throw more money at the hole. So it's I like to say, in the Rangers, we fail constantly. And I know that seems counterintuitive to what most people know about the Rangers, but we say we fail continually. But what we do is we take the failures and we got to turn those around quickly. We think on our feet and we adapt, and we turn those negatives into positives, and we keep doing that over and over and over until we hit mission success.
Okay. All right. You've given me some extra things to think about. I'm excited. Thank you.
Happy to help.
All right. Harv, you can unmute.
Thank you so much for tonight. You guys have pulled me out of the gutter with this conversation, and I think I will be forever grateful. And freedom fighter, and many of you have been such a huge support in many of my posts that I put on the wall, and so I want to just thank you for that also. But I do want to ask, and I'm going to try and be as brief as I can because the story is absolutely horrible. I invented a non-spill hydration pouch for dogs. And I was leading the hydration revolution for canines, and received Best Product of the Year in New York from Cesar Millan before the Westminster Dog Show. And I private labeled for PetSmart and started doing a private label business with Blue Buffalo Dog Food Company. And the sad story is that my now ex-husband was sabotaging my company from within and hacking my invention and destroyed my company. And since I started listening to this Freedom Fighters channel, I've been getting some hope back and trying to figure out a way to restart my business when my life was completely financially destroyed. And so listening to you talk about maybe going to a wealth manager, maybe they would know someone that might be able to throw in a few bucks, or even the company that you were talking about in Colorado. I just don't know where to go to. So my question is where do I go to rebuild a company that was like really fully destroyed from me and bring it back to market? Like I said, my whole life I've showed dogs, raised dogs, and canine hydration has been like my big deal. And so I guess if you have any suggestions at all as to how I can restart and where to maybe go.
Are you ready to do that now? Because if you're ready to pick up and reclaim this and make it your own again, I would start looking at different grants that are available, and I'd start looking at some angel investors, and you'll find people that have a heart for this.
So would I be able to DM you and ask you about that more outside of where I go to get the grants and angel investors?
I will, yes, hit me up in a DM, and I'll see if I can point you in the right direction for some grant opportunities.
That would be really great because, like I said, the canines are my passion, and it took me 3 years to develop the product, and it's really great. So anyway, well, thank you so very much. And Freedom Fighter, thank you, Lady E. Great help trying to get me so I could be like part of the gift gang.
You're welcome.
Yes, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Hey, if I can real quick, because Harv just had something pop into my head there by talking about dogs there again, is I get hit sometimes, often than not, that people don't want to build anything. They don't want to go take on something that just is overwhelming for them. And one of the things I know that is a real need is dog sponsorships for VA service dogs. A lot of money. It's roughly about $30,000 per service dog. And more often than not, veterans have to come up or help fundraise that money before they can even get into the service dog program. And it's very hard for these veterans to raise that money on their own because they don't want to go ask people to help them. And I don't know if it's a pride thing or just going out and asking for help. It's one of the things I think a lot of us are fearful of is say, hey, raise your hand and say, hey, I need some help. I struggled with that for a long time, but I realized that I'm more successful when I reach out to people who've been there and done it, and saying, hey, I'm looking at this. Can you help me a bit? Just point me in a direction. But yeah, dog sponsorship programs for the VA service dog. There's a lot of them out there if you just type in VA service dog programs, and many people would be so grateful just for you to donate to help them raise the funds for these different service dog programs.
When I had my pouches, I used to donate to the dogs in service. I used to give thousands of pouches away a year, and then for the Cancer Society, I used to donate a lot of pouches, and then for the dogs that are trained to help people, I used to just be a big sponsor for that too. So that's really great.
Yeah, hit me up on the side, Harv, and I'll see if I can't help you with some of that. If we have to write a couple grants or whatnot, I'm willing to help you out on that.
Well, I really appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. And a story for his glory. You can unmute, and then Stacy Lightworker will come into you.
Hi, thank you. I'm just wondering if you can help me to understand. Somebody had told me it might be wise to get like stealth. I guess it'd be LLCs in order to more secure like finances post RV and all that in different countries. Would you suggest that that would be wise in order to kind of diversify and keep it more protected?
I think I would talk to your wealth manager about this because he's going to know better what you can do in your area, your state, or wherever you are. They're going to be able to help tell you what's available to you right there. I don't know that you necessarily need stealth LLCs. I know there's ways you could put multiple LLCs under one and then only have to write one annual report for the LLC, and it'll encompass all of those. So I know there's various aspects of that, but I think the wealth managers where you're going to really want to speak to this area and help and have you set that up and how they can help you the best in that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. One other question, if I may. What, in your opinion, what's the best way to secure financial advisor that you know is more or less trustworthy for the most part, of course, type deal, without having, because I don't have like major connects type deal on that to these things.
And most people don't. It's just one of those things where you're gonna have to call around and just start talking to some and saying, hey, I'm looking at coming into some money, or if you have some money, I mean, it don't take much to start with a wealth manager. I mean, it don't take much at all, and they'll be happy to work with you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Very good.
All righty.
Hi, this is Stacy.
Hey, Stacy. Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you all so much for sharing your wisdom and your positive energy. I wonder if you know anything about the ID number at the top of our birth certificates in the right-hand corner. I know it's a little off topic.
I mean, I've heard so much about that, but I'm not an expert in that. I mean, I'd be talking completely out of turn to even lead you to anything on that.
Well, I haven't really done much research on it. Do you have any ideas where to research it?
I can help.
Go ahead, Jester. Chime in there.
Oh, Jester.
Hey guys, how's it going? Hey Wiley, how you doing, big guy?
What's
I'm
up,
doing
young
good.
man?
Good. The first 3 digits are your region code. The next 2 digits are your year of birth. The last 6 digits are a unique serial number. Depending on the year of birth, it's kind of a random thing, but it is what it is. That's what that means, okay?
But you have no idea what the last 4 digits are to be used for? Their purpose?
Not necessarily. It's like I said, it's a unique serial number depending upon your year of birth.
Okay, well, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, my man.
I knew that wasn't going to help, but that's what it is, guys. That's just what it is.
You're probably the only one that out there that really would know that anyway.
You do remember that we access those accounts. I'm just saying.
Yes, very well.
All right.
Yeah.
That was a fun time.
I bet it was.
The question I got for Wiley is, have you talked for Drake in a while?
Actually, I have not. I haven't spoken to a lot of people here for a while. I've just kind of been busy doing my own thing.
Yeah, he was kind of the one that introduced you and me, if you remember correctly.
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, it has been a while for him. Yeah. All right, I'm just curious. All right, thanks for letting me butt in for a minute. I'll get out of here.
Hang on tight.
All right.
Mrs. D, and then Joseph Sheldon will come to you. Mrs. D.
Good evening, Mr. Morgan. I have a couple of questions. I am new to the area in which I live, which is South Central Pennsylvania. And what kind of criteria would you recommend I use when asking questions about finding a responsible wealth manager or a responsible, tax accountant, CPA, somebody who can help me understand tax complications and things like that. I wouldn't even know how to start interviewing a wealth manager to know if one is a dud and one is a great one. Any thoughts about that?
Actually, I know that Freedom Fighter has taken some of the questions I'd put together from a couple great articles of people who had put this together and how to interview a wealth manager. I believe that is on the site, and I think it's in one of the pinned documents, and that'll give you a baseline questioning to kind of get a feel for them and who they are, how they work, and things like that. It's a great starting point. And as you do it a little bit, you're going to get more comfortable. It's like an interview, and you're just the interviewer, and you're going to get better at it, and you'll find a comfort level. These people you talk to. I'm never afraid to ask those people I talk to, hey, do you have somebody you know that's in a CPA? I'm not afraid to ask those questions. So sometimes they can lead you in the right direction to somebody in your area. Or like my actual CPA lives a state over, but he's first both in the two states I live in because we have a river that divides us. So, but yeah, I mean, just ask. I mean, ask around. You'll find somebody that has somebody in your area that might have that area expertise you're looking for.
I don't have a great deal of exposure to a lot of people because I work from home. So if the document is in an area where I can locate it,
maybe I can get Freedom Fighter to maybe post that up again if he gets an
opportunity. That would be helpful. I will look that.
It's there right now. Thank you, Lady E. Lady E posted it right in. If you look in the room, can you see it, Mrs. D?
1 moment. Down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. At the bottom.
Oops. Is it by NerdWallet?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, I've got it. Wonderful. Thank you so much because I'm just shooting in the dark out here.
Yeah, and don't let the whole work from home thing get to you a little bit. I mean, just start making phone calls, start asking questions, start talking to these people. You're going to find your rhythm. You're going to find your comfort zone. And you'll come into your own into this eventually. You truly will. It's like anything. We have to keep doing it until we're good at it.
Yes. Well, okay. I appreciate your time and your expertise. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. If I can, and it just hit me off the top of my head, and there's a quote by Bruce Lee I just love. And it's like, never talk negative to oneself because your mind will start to believe what you say and think.
So true.
Always give yourself positivity. Praise yourself. Think of yourself very positively, and you're just going to naturally tend to just have that positive outlook.
Well,
and your best cheerleader, your best cheerleader is you.
Okay, well, I just don't want to mess it up.
You know what? We all falter. It's called human nature. I had to learn all this. I stumbled out of the blocks doing this myself. But it's just, you'll find a rhythm. You truly will.
I will be praying for divine connections and divine appointments.
Prayer never hurts.
That's right. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
All right. Joseph Sheldon and then Trump Land will come to you afterwards. Joseph, you can unmute.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm very new to this. Freedom Fighter, I found your videos maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and I've been going through them. I came in at just the last 10 minutes on this. Curious, is there a replay or somewhere that we can catch this podcast or this video conference to understand exactly everything that you guys are conversing about and what help you guys have?
Absolutely. Yeah. It will be a podcast. It's being recorded. So you subscribed to the channel on YouTube. It'll be right there.
Okay, on YouTube. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll get the notification once it's published.
Okay. I have a lot of questions, but I need to do some listening and learning before I start asking. So I appreciate you.
Okay, no problem. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right, you too. All right, Trump Land, we're coming right to you. You can unmute. All right, are you still here, Trump Land? I saw you. No, I don't see it. Okay, maybe we lost Trump land. Okay. No, I don't see Trump land anymore. He might have dropped. Okay. If anyone has any more questions, go ahead and feel free to raise your hand. All right, Maria, we're coming right to you. Okay, you can unmute Maria.
Hi, thank you for this call, Wiley. Thank you for your service. I'm a surviving spouse of an Army veteran who died last year, and Freedom Fighter knows it was pretty tragic circumstances. But my question for you is, do you have any advice for those of us who don't want to be full-time busy with something more passive income? Is there any major different advice that you would give to those of us who just don't want to be it feels like this wealth could really tie somebody down.
It can. This is where I advise you to seek wealth counsel, wealth management. Managing money is a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And these are what those guys do for a living. Just walk in, talk to them, tell them, hey, this is what I've got. This is what I'm wanting to do. I'd love to make some money on my money and not worry about it too much. And they will tell you what they can do, set your goals and expectations, and they'll tell you what they can and can't do.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Also, you had talked about a family. I don't think it was a trust. I think it was a family wealth manager where they would teach your kids how. I think you posted an article that I read that would impress me quite a bit. Do you have an opinion about that?
Are you talking about a family office to where you can encompass family into that and everything? Your wealth manager can help set that up for you.
Okay.
Yep.
I had never heard of that.
That's just where the kids and everybody, or whoever you want to bring into that, are all managed under one person, and then it's just easy to kind of work within that family office. And there's all kinds of ways to work out of that family office, and your wealth manager's going to be the best to really guide you through that and tell you the ins and outs of it.
Are they separate from a wealth manager, or can your wealth manager be in charge of the family office?
Yeah, they can
involved?
Be. They can be, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
And thank you again for your service.
And thank you for your service, because most people don't know that a spouse has the toughest job in the military.
I was his caretaker for 20 years.
And that's a job.
And during the whole time, we had to fight the VA. It wasn't until Trump came in office and he personally helped our case and got my husband finally service connected after 16 years of denials. It was it's an amazing story, but yeah, it's so frustrating, and I just don't have the wherewithal to deal with any more details that this wealth management is going to bring. And I can do the details, and be involved, but I just don't want it to be a all-encompassing full-time job. I'm older.
Yes. And that's where I would advise professional people to help you through this area. That's what they do. They do it all day, every day. They're experts at it. They'll be able to guide you on the ins and outs of what you want.
Thank you. I appreciate the advice and the call. Thank you, Freedom.
You're welcome. And I'd love to say people can say what they want about Donald Trump, but I will be forever thankful for that man coming into office and kicking the doors off the VA and taking the backlog out of it.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else, that one achievement was so needed for the veterans.
And just the rule that the VA imposed that disabled veterans shouldn't be allowed to have gun rights. I mean, that was the first thing he did when he came into office, was give these disabled veterans a voice.
Yeah, don't be fooled though. There's a lot of governors out there that are trying to pass red flag laws so veterans can't have weapons.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards advocacy for the VA through TAPS, but I really appreciated your comments.
Thank you for the question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Maria. And hiding in the mirror. You can unmute when you get out the mirror.
Thank you, Freedom Fighter.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you, Wiley. This goes along with Maria's question. My father was a veteran. He was a Marine, and he spent the majority of his life, unfortunately, with mental issues. I'm not sure if it was related or elsewise, but I would like to provide services to veterans who deal with mental issues. And I know that there are a lot of veterans who have those. I don't really know where to get started, or really, because I don't know who to trust, because of when you have family members who have mental issues, your trust instincts are diminished. So I think that I just need to be led into the right direction on whom I should get started with. If you could guide me, that would be great.
So you're looking to start a group that can help these individuals. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Personally, if I was going to go that road, I would reach out to my local VA and I would talk to somebody within that area of the VA and start asking them, because they have different outreach programs. Not everything is always done internal to the VA. They have these referral programs where they'll refer people out to, and they look for organizations like yours that can assist in this, because it's such a very, very large area.
Right.
Get with them, find out what you need to do to set that up to become part of their network, I should say, where they can refer people to you, but they will help you navigate the ins and outs of what you need to do.
Thank you, because I started this journey in 1974 with my father. So I definitely have been on a long journey with mental health issues with the VA. But again, learning who to trust, and the VA, like you said, has gone through some tremendous changes after Donald Trump. And thank you for your time today.
My pleasure.
All right. Who's next? Please feel free to raise your hand and we will come right to you. All right. How are we looking with time, Wiley? We're about an hour and a half in, and I don't want to keep you too long.
I'll keep going if they got anything. Okay. Happy to be on this evening to help out. I've carved out this evening to answer whatever I can.
Okay. All right, folks, this is a golden opportunity. You got Wiley here, not just in the room chatting, but live and direct. Feel free to ask your questions. All right. We've had a lot of questions so far. I don't know if everyone is burnt out with questions or nervous. Okay, I see you, Dublin Red. We'll come right to you. And you can unmute Dublin Red. All right, Dublin Red, you may be having some challenges unmuting, but that's all you need to do. You can speak.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Yay! I didn't know if it was appropriate, Wiley, that I ask you about trust, but I'd love to hear your knowledge about the best trust to protect our money. I understand there's so many out there, and I haven't had a chance to really do a lot of research on them yet. But what, in your opinion, would be the best to protect the money for humanitarian efforts and eliminate or avoid as many taxes as possible.
And I hate to sound like a broken record, but this is that area for the wealth manager, and they're going to be able to guide you in the best way possible in what it is you want to do for the longevity. And again, speak to them about that, and speak to them about, trying to offshoot your taxes. Now, I think the taxes are going to change on some of this down the road. I don't know that for 100%, but we can kind of see things going that way. I can tell you that when my father died, he had left everything into a trust to his 4 surviving children. And I learned a lot about navigating a trust on that particular issue and the challenges I had in working with some of those. And it's usually best to have professional advice. I had to get a lawyer to really help me navigate through a lot of that, because there was a lot of things that my dad, for whatever reason, put in this trust that was just very challenging for us to work in, because when he divided his assets into it, part of that was over 1,000-acre homestead, and no one person could sell it without the approvals of the other. But when he put a caveat in there, if any one of these people failed to pay their taxes on their share, and the other surviving members had to pay those fair share taxes, then they fall out of the trust, basically, and it goes to the other ones. And that's ultimately kind of what happened. And trusts are a protection mechanism, but they're also challenging to work in. But get with your wealth manager.
May I make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
One thing you said that I thought was huge was the fact that you had a lawyer to unravel that crap. What I suggest, instead of a wealth manager, or in addition to a wealth manager, is a lawyer that is conversant in tax and trusts and that sort of thing. I have one, so it is what it is. But they can advise you on the whole tax issues and what you're trying to achieve and how you're trying to, why you're setting this up in the beginning. If you don't know, then they can help you try to figure that out as well. I like the whole fact that you said you had to have a lawyer to unravel it, and quite frankly, I think that's where you should start.
Start with the lawyer rather than the wealth manager.
Well, here's the thing. A lawyer that is conversant in accounting and taxes and that sort of thing is the guy you need to protect you when that's what your issue is and what you're concerned with. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just,
I'm not saying a wealth manager can't do it, but Wiley himself said he had to have a lawyer to unravel it. Why not have them fix it to start with?
Yeah, and like I said earlier on the call, I've just lucked out. One of my wealth managers that I do talk to does the CPA work too, so he kind of is adept in both, and I have that ability to go to one person for kind of both things. That won't be for everybody. Not everybody's going to find somebody that can do that.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. The guy that can do that CPA stuff is the perfect guy. That's it. That's the only point I was liking to make. Thank you, Wiley.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for chiming in.
Thanks, Chester. Sorry. And I want to make sure that the trust is set up before I do an exchange, right? I don't want to exchange and then set up the trust. That all needs to be handled before to protect the funds, right? Am I thinking that correctly?
I'd like to have a chance at that one too.
knock your stuff out.
Why would you take the exchange before you had that all set up? Why don't you have that ready to go with the guy that you're going to have take care of it and take it out and construct a receipt on that end without ever taking the responsibility for it? In other words, why would you like to take your money and then put it in a trust when you could have it put in a trust without ever having taken the money.
Right, that's what I was asking. That is the right approach, to get the trust first before the account.
No, not necessarily. Have the lawyer set up, take the money in the lawyer's trust account. It never comes to your name yet. Then decide what you're going to do. Get the lawyer to set it up and then do it.
Okay, so stick it in the lawyer.
Do you understand what I'm telling you here?
Yeah, I'm just trying to repeat back to make sure that the brain got it here. You're
Okay.
saying put it in the lawyer's trust account and then have that trust of mine set up.
Correct.
Okay.
Have the lawyer take your money, put it into his trust account. It's completely doable. I've already got this set up with mine.
Okay. All right.
It never comes into your name that way. You understand what I'm telling you here, right?
Yes, absolutely. I understand.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to do.
There you
To avoid putting it in my name. I'm just trying to
Exactly.
the logistics of what I need to do here.
Right. Perfect.
All right. Thank you. That was very helpful, both of you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And whoever is next, please feel free to raise your hand. We will come right to you. Raise your hand. Did Trump land come back? I don't think so. Okay. All right, Jan, we'll come right to you. Hey, Jan, you can unmute, young lady.
Hey, Wiley. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. You mentioned having more than one account at more than one bank. I mean, in my mind, I can think of reasons for that. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit without giving personal detail?
It's just a separate, whether it's LLCs I have or if it's a personal account or different things like that. I don't do all my business at one. My personal stuff, I kind of keep at a credit union. The things I do under the business stuff, I keep at various different banks. Just some banks that give me better deals and better rates on some of the things I do. Sometimes I borrow money to do the things I do than it is just to deplete the account to go do some of the programs. So it wasn't planned technically. It's just the way it kind of rolled out. Just with banks in general, I do shop around. I like to work with a lot of tier 1 banks only, just because of a lot of these smaller banks that we've seen around the country. I think there was a total, I think I'd read last count, over 4,000 banks that have gone under the last year.
All right, that makes sense. And your wealth manager, is that just to one specific bank, or can he advise you on money you have in another bank?
He advises me on all the different things I do across the board.
Okay, all right, good to know. All right, thank you, Wiley.
Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty. Who's next? Feel free to raise your hand and we will come to you. Okay. We'll try one more time, and if not, we will not belabor the moment. Feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, Justin. Justin is out of. He's from New Zealand, but in Australia. What's up, Justin?
How are you guys? Thanks for that, Wiley. That was an awesome introduction. Good to hear from you. Wiley, I just want to, with family and that, honestly, the wealth we'll get, I just don't want to totally leave them out. Do you have any suggestions? I want to pay their debts off, mortgages and so forth. Do you have any other means not to, overspoil them type thing?
I do for my children. I set up funds for my children through my wealth management structuring, but they don't have access to those funds, or they won't start receiving a stipend until they reach a certain age. They're both adults, but they haven't experienced enough of the world to manage the money properly.
Look, I totally agree there. I've only got one young fella. He's just turning 21 soon, and he's not very good with his money. So he needs. I won't be throwing money at him left, right, and centre. So that's a good. But I was thinking, like my brothers and sisters, honestly, I honestly want to get them out of debt slavery.
Well, let me spin this a little bit for you. The biggest bill that most people have in their entire budgets is their mortgage. If you were kind enough to pay the mortgage off and free up the $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 they have a month, you just gave them a $3,000 economic boost in their lifestyle. Their other debt should be their problem to take care of with the newfound monies they have in their own budgets, that they should go take care of that themselves, so they understand the appreciation of what you've done for them. And then they can go handle their own debts on their own, so as they don't keep coming back to you and saying, hey, well, I've got myself in a bind again. Justin, can you help me out?
No, perfect. No,
So
that's absolutely perfect.
you should always put stipulations around what you do.
Yeah, we'll not be telling them what I'm worth, so that's for a start. So.
That's a key thing. Just say, hey, I've run into some money. I'd like to help you out in this aspect. This is what I'm willing to do, but that's it. That's it. Put the ground rules down early and be firm on it.
No, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes, I hope that helps.
Thank you. No, it does.
All right. Who's next? Feel free to raise your hand. We will come right to you. All right. Feel free to raise your hand. All right. We're not going to keep Wiley too much longer if no one has any more questions. So we'll give you one more chance. Going once. Going twice. We don't know when he'll do this again. Oh, that worked. Hey, TSJ. Hey, TSJ. You can unmute.
What's going on, boys?
Hey.
I kind of left that to some suspense, like auction style, but
we like it.
Yeah, listen, I really appreciate you guys. I've been on a lot of these calls the past few months. I've been in the dinar land journey now for like a year and a half. So yeah, I just really appreciate everything, the frequency, the vibrations. Obviously, it's hard to connect with certain people in this investment. And I just want to say thank you first and foremost. Freedom Fighter, Jester, and Wiley. I got like one or two questions. Firstly, so I understand to have a trust, you need a trustee. My problem is, I no pun intended, I don't really trust anyone. So, I mean, I know you can hire somebody, I suppose. I mean, I would look into that. But do you think a trust is absolutely necessary? I mean, to protect your assets, I understand it is.
They're not necessarily needed. You can do it various different ways through LLCs and things. But, I mean, there's many different ways to go here.
Understood. And then as for charity work, I really I want to set something up for kids overseas, like in Palestine, in the Middle East, and even around here, all around. Obviously, sitting down with the wealth manager or somebody who can help you with that, like a 503c or different organizations.
Yeah, I mean, you can just go to your state, fill out a 501c3, but you're going to have to do some reporting on that and things like that. Then depending, you're going to have to go to the government, get your EIN number for it and different things like that, get that set up. Mind you, doing work in some of those areas of countries is not without its challenges. I'll tell you that, and I applaud you for willing to give that a try.
Understood. And then lastly, I know this is a little hypothetical. I know a lot of us are going to be running into a decent sum of money here. I mean, if you had, say, $10 million, I know you're not a financial advisor, I know, this is just hypothetical. Like, how would you go about splitting that up accordingly? Would you put like 5 million in a 5% trust, and then the rest on real estate and gold and crypto, or like, just kind of trying to pick your brain here?
Now, if I had 10 million, boy, I'd take that to a platform and let them take it to work for me.
Understood. Is that guaranteed? Typically, I know nothing is guaranteed in life, but
there are some programs out there that'll write you a contract on that, borrow the money and invest it and give you 10% a month.
Oh, wow. So it's out there.
It's out there. Talk to your wealth managers on it. They know about this.
Understood. And then last and final question, what is your take on like whole life insurance and infinite banking, the concept of being
infinite banking's difficult. I mean, if you're going to be your own bank, I'd do an IUL. That's just my take on the insurance aspect of it. I'd recommend looking to the IUL. And then there's also ways that you can do some of these generational life insurance things where you're always loaning the money out, so the money never depletes itself within the insurance policy.
Awesome.
I mean, look it up. I think people refer to them as Rockefeller Trust and things like that. Look them up. They're really, really entertaining to see how crafty some of these guys were.
Yeah, I've read up a little bit on it. It's just obviously it gets a little complicated, and you got to be in the situation to start it.
And all those things are it's the attention to detail. This is where you want professionals, because that attention to detail is what either makes you or breaks you.
Correct. Got it. And then, sorry, one more question. Are you going to be here are you guys all going to be here to kind of help guide us? I know you're not advisors, but...
Nope.
We're going
to give
Casper.
us ideas or possibly
My new name is Casper. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You guys
I would venture to say hardly anybody's going to be around to help people navigate this. And those that say they will be or want to be, I would be very leery of the graft or whatever it is they're looking for on the backside.
Understood.
If you guys aren't listening yet, the man's been telling you the whole call to find and procure a nice wealth manager to help you.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like my problem is I just don't trust anybody, to be honest with you. I mean,
and that's the leap of faith. You're going to have to find somebody you gel with. But remember, this wealth management is there to work for you. You're hiring him. He's not hiring you. And you're the one going to be calling the shots. It's
That's
your
right.
money. You set the expectation, and he'll tell you whether he can meet it or not.
Understood.
And they're going to tell you, well, I can't do that, but here's what I can do, and I can make you X, Y, Z, and I can put it in this and that. And you listen to that and say, I'm comfortable with that. Because this is some of the first questions your wealth management's going to ask you is, what is your risk threshold? Are you very aggressive, or are you, I don't want to get into too many things too big. I'd rather just make a modest, whatever per year, and I'm content with that. And that's fine. And the old saying goes, and I hear this so many times from all these guys that I kind of go to the ball games and hang out with. It's like, you'll never go broke making a profit.
Totally. Got it. All righty. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot, guys. You guys are the best. You guys really are the best in dinar land. And I mean, I read and listen to a lot of different resources. I pay for a lot of stuff. You guys are literally the best. So once again, thank you for everything. And I wish everyone the best, in the future journey. So.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Freedom.
I'd like to come in on one thing that you guys didn't even catch that we're going to have to probably tie into at some point in time, Freedom Fighter. And Wiley, I mean, you said it, and I get it, but hardly anybody else got it. You got that much money, you're going to have to investigate the platforms. Nobody knows what that means, quite frankly, on this call. We're going to have to go there at some point in time. All right.
That's huge. The trading platforms.
And that's one of those areas it's best if I got one of the trader platform guys on to explain that.
Right.
This is the kind of stuff that they can't advertise this.
That's correct.
It's not advertised. They can't hang a shingle and say, this is what I do. This is the insider stuff that you're never taught in life. You're never shown this. This is what the bigwigs use in their sandbox, and they don't want you in it.
That's right.
Very private. Yeah.
But it's out there.
You gotta go there. Time to help
Some of your.
these.
Go ahead, Jester. What was that?
No, I'm just saying we got to go there at some point in time to help these folks find that.
It's out there. Some wealth managers know about it. Some wealth managers will guide you there. Not all of them do. It is very hard to find an intermediary, a real intermediary that will introduce you to these people. And these people work with the biggest of the biggest people at the IMF level and all that. And this is where it's going to be very important for you to have clean and clear funds.
Right.
Because they're going to investigate where that money comes from. If it's gotten from ill-gotten gains, you're out. You'll never be in an investment trade ever again because you've been blacklisted. This is I don't want to get too far into this because this is talking and where you really need some licenses and stuff to talk about. But I think we could probably get maybe an intermediary on to explain some of this without getting it too in depth or getting them in trouble.
Okay.
That's the truth.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Yeah, folks, if you don't really understand what Wiley and just mentioned about trading platforms and the platforms, it's TSJ along the lines of you were asking about guarantees. You're right, there is no such thing. But there, with the trading platforms, there's certain security and investment. There's certain types of instruments that are considered guarantees that can plus or minus get you a certain return. And I'm not saying the word guaranteed, but a certain return, and that's where trading platforms. It's very, very possible. Yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but that'd be great. Let's see. Who's next? If you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. Lady E, looks like you have a question.
Yes. Hi, Freedom. Hi, Jester. Hello, Wiley.
Hey, ma'am.
The gang's all here. I was thinking about TFJ's question, and Wiley, you've answered this question numerous times in the chat. But if you don't mind, can you explain the difference of a fiduciary that works for you versus a fiduciary that works for a bank or a third party?
A fiduciary that's working for you has your best interests at heart. A fiduciary that's working for any type of organization is taken out for the organization's best interest. You want one that works for you and your best interest.
I was thinking that may help poor TSJ with his non-faith people, because a fiduciary that works for him, they don't make money unless he makes money. But someone that works for a third party, then they have to take their interests into consideration.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the first questions I think is on that questionnaire is, are you a fiduciary? How do you get paid?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, when I first started this, Investopedia was my best friend. Because if I didn't understand the language, I put it in there and I Googled it and I read everything I could about it. The finance world speaks in their own terms. And I understand that's why it's so hard for a lot of people to follow what's out there, because of all this new banking regulatory stuff and what's said. It's very easy to misinterpret things, very easy, because it's a language all its own. But as you start going down that road more and you start becoming more involved in your own finances, especially when you have some money and you're trying to protect it, you want to understand these terms. Before long, you're going to be able to converse back and forth pretty easily with your wealth manager. I have some wealth managers that want to shine me on and use big words. I looked at him one day and I said, you need to bring it down to my level. And I've just said that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, don't impress me. You already got the job.
Right.
Let's talk to me like I'm a normal person and I don't deal with this every day. Mm-hmm. And they'll look at you, they'll laugh a little bit, and they'll bring it to your level.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, looks like Mrs. D has another question. Mrs. D, do you have another question? You can unmute. I see your hand.
Forgive the encore question, but what are your thoughts about large donations to church organizations?
To what organizations? I'm sorry.
Like our local church. Like
If
in terms of $1 million or so on and so forth.
I would do it very anonymously through my attorney.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Can I ask why?
Because you don't want everybody to know what you got. Churches are some of the worst for talking about other people's business. And I know that because my dad's a minister, or used to be.
Okay, so make arrangements to do so through an attorney.
Yeah, any charitable givings I do very anonymously, just because people don't need to keep coming back to you. Let me give you an instance. I gave some money. It wasn't a lot. It was $2,500 I gave to a local organization. And all of a sudden, every year, they kept coming back to me. Hey, can we count on your $2,500 donation again this year? I said, no. I said, I'd rather, I've given you what I'm willing to give you this year. And, I'm going to spread that money out throughout my community the next year. And so it was like every time I went in there to do business, it's like you're getting a cold shoulder constantly. And I'm just like, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, but it's not personal. It's mine to do what I want with, and I shouldn't be held to account because you didn't get what you wanted.
Okay.
So since then, I've just always done everything anonymously through my attorney. I just made his wishes known and said, hey, can you ensure XYZ goes to here for me? And they're willing to do that for you because they can do it right out of their own accounts and just say on behalf of an anonymous benefactor, here you go.
I would have never thought of that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I would never flaunt your wealth. It's the surefire way to put a bullseye on your back.
Mm-hmm.
That makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've heard to do that with, precious metals holdings and so on and so forth. Don't tell anybody anything. Only my husband and I are aware of certain things and so forth. But when it comes to church giving, that would have not occurred to me. I guess I'm too trusting. I have the opposite problem that TSJ has.
Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with giving. It's just how we look at ourselves and protect ourselves from those would-be sharks that exist out there. And they're everywhere. You just don't know where they're going to be coming from.
It's good.
And the last thing you want somebody to do is get a hold of your phone or get a hold of your computer or something like that. You've got that pertinent information on there. I mean, people can find out a lot about you pretty quickly. Just, you can go out to the dark web and buy everything you want on anybody you want.
Oh. Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And who was it? TSJ that's very quiet. Now he's all freaked out, I'm sure.
Right. Right. TSJ, you don't trust no one. All right. And who do we have next that has a question? Feel free to please raise your hand. CWA, the one and only CWA.
Hello. So, I love dogs and I love veterans. I work for the VA. Just a heads up on that one lady that was sharing about, how to get connected. There is the volunteer services and they're always asking for things. So I don't know if that might help the person that was asking that. But my question is, I want to set up, I think I've talked about this before. I love Australian cattle dogs, and I want to buy land once the RV happens and build a really big barn with AC and heat. And but I'm just wondering, so I can be smart, is it good to go in the direction of nonprofit? And is that hard to set up, or do you know anything about that, Wiley?
Nonprofits aren't hard to set up. I mean, there's just legal requirements around those, and I mean, they can be very beneficial.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, of course, I'm going to use my own, but it's always good to have a little extra to maybe help more dogs, I guess.
Well, you got to remember, though, that there's a lot of companies out there that set aside monies to help people. And I think one of the organizations that helped us when we were in Kurdistan was, I think it was Coca-Cola.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because they have a not-for-profit arm that they're willing to help things and move things, and that was specifically tied to getting medical aid into Kurdistan.
Oh, okay.
So you'd be surprised if you have a not-for-profit and they can write off charitable givings, because they're rated on how much they're able to donate. And sometimes you'll see things like 15 to 1, 30 to 1, and these are dollar equivalents, and that's how they get rated.
Oh, okay.
So and when they're able to donate to you and write that off, it's beneficial to be a 501c3 where you can have your accountant give them a proper receipting for that so they can write it off their books, get a tax break on it. That's where it becomes beneficial. And it makes it easier for people to work with you.
Okay. Well, then that would work with veterans too, because if you set something up, I'm a social worker, clinical social worker. I work with mental health, but I'm always reaching out to different organizations in the community. And so I would think that I could write off things because people want to donate to something like whatever I would set up for veterans. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. You're so awesome to have this call. And of course, I love Freedom Fighter and Jester and Lady E and Liberty and everybody else. So thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
Now, just remember, there's different reporting requirements for a 501c3, whereas you just in business for yourself. And it's not challenging. It's not burdensome. It's just, you got to file an annual report of what you're doing and things like that. And you usually will get a letter from the state saying, hey, you're due to send your annual report in, and you just file it. And it's usually a filing fee. I think my last one was like $101 for filing electronically.
Okay. I will definitely research that then. 501. Okay.
Awesome. And there's many type of 501s. There's A, B, C. I think there's an E for educational purposes.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And you can be multiple 501cs or 501s within one entity.
Oh, okay. Great info. Thank you so much. This is being recorded, right? So much info.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. Who's next? Please feel free to raise your hand. We will call on you next. Raise your hand. All right. Going once. Going twice. All right. I think we're there. We're at 2 hours. I don't want to keep Wiley too long if no one has any more questions.
I have a question.
Oh, it worked again.
So here's the thing. So everybody knows the story of us, okay? Right? I mean, I've been hanging around. I've been knowing Wiley for 15 years. So I hooked up at the Seeds of Wisdom because Wiley said, "Yeah, I'm over here," and then he and my question, this is totally innocent. I'm telling you, yeah, you're laughing right now. I get it, but here's the thing: Wiley knew what was going on. I think he invited me over here to bust it up. I want to know.
I gotta go. I gotta mute. I'm laughing too hard.
You know I'm telling the truth.
Maybe this is where Freedom stops the call and stops the recording because that was not my doing, Jester.
No, that wasn't. No,
I was summarily silenced for trying to help them out of some issues they were in and some legal hurdles and challenges they had that they weren't willing to fix.
The truth comes out after the fact.
And I got banned for bringing it up shortly after I brought several people into the thing, and I was shown the door, and I was never allowed to say adios, I'm out, nothing. It was just see you around.
Not long after you showed me the ropes and brought me up.
Well, here's the thing: we didn't know that, so thank you for sharing. We wonder because here we were left in the lurch after the fact. Of course, it didn't take us long to fuck it up either, so it is what it is, right?
Well, I went to task with one of their main guys that likes to spread a lot of BS around, and I called him to task on it, and it didn't go over so well. And I had about 10,000 people of his audience come to attack me. He's very masterful at sending his audience out to do his dirty work.
I know the one you're talking about. I did the same thing. Me and Aaron did it one night in the middle of the night.
Yes, Jester knows we know exactly what you're talking about and who you're talking about.
He wanted to fight me in a dark alley. I said, "Why do we need a dark alley?" It was just what it is. And I'm just like, listen, this is childish.
I did the same thing one night, and then it didn't take us long to get kicked off of there, did it, Mr. Freedom Fighter?
Nope.
All right, so we understand now. We're all on the same page. That's good. Thank you for answering that question. I appreciate it. We've been digging around for 15 years, I guess, since the castle, and man, it's good to hear your voice. I have to say that.
Yeah, it's been a while since you and I talked.
I don't know that long, maybe a few months. So it is what it is.
And then see that this goes back to my circles of influence and those social circles. You're going to have people pop in and out all the time.
You people that are on this call right now have no idea who you're talking to with that man right there. I know who that man is to a certain extent, and I know what he's done for the world, basically. And you guys don't really understand the significance of who you're listening to right now. I do. You guys have no idea who this man is, and you should count yourself super special for being here right this minute, just so you know.
Bob, I put my pants on like everybody else does, one leg at a time.
I know that, but I know I know what you've done. I know who you are. You can play that game if you like, but I'm not going there.
Wiley's very humble.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Very, very humble.
The only thing I did for this community,
the man that every man likes to be, right here. This guy right here.
I would say the only thing I did for this community was I leveled the playing field for everybody involved.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody now has the opportunity to benefit equally.
That's
no
right.
one gets special treatment. And I ensured that you all had a pseudo seat at the table to be heard.
That's it. You're a good man, Wiley. I just wanted everybody to know it.
I try to be.
Yeah, I think by the last 10 minutes between the two of you talking, I think a lot of people have more questions now about Wiley. Like if they didn't appreciate the first 2 hours, they really appreciate it now. Yeah.
As well they should. And that's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I just want to do my part, help spread it around, talk about some different things that you could start working on now. And again, dream big.
Right.
But keep it within reason. Nothing's out of your reach. Nothing's undoable. The only obstacle you have is you.
Right. And folks, just think, we have Wiley, who hasn't done a call in over 2 years, but now decided to do so. Jester, who, probably until the last couple of months, hasn't done a call in, I don't know, several years. And we're very fortunate to have them. There's a reason why they are coming out of the woodworks, if you will, to communicate. And it's a blessing. And so please don't take it for granted. All right, Spice Girl. I recognize
you. Out of the woodwork, just so you know.
Yeah. Isn't it something how now full circle? You guys are together full circle after that situation.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
Spice Girl, I see your hand raised. Go ahead, young lady.
Hi, how are you? And all I'm going to say is this, and I've been on the call the entire while. Wiley actually helped me with the situation that I had. I'm not going to say what it was, but I had been battling this for a couple of years, and I reached out to him, just sent a letter to him via SOW, and I would say maybe 1 month later, all of a sudden, I got a package. And so I want to say I'm thankful to you, Wiley, personally. You never spoke to me, but I did reach out. And I want to say you're a good man because you didn't do whatever you did for me for any type of accolades. You just did it to help me out. And you probably have done this for a lot of people, but I know that you did it. So I want to say thank you. I've been around since Dizzy Bear time, going through this stuff since maybe 2010. No, 2015, I'm sorry. And so I've been around. I don't say a lot, but I was prompted to say thank you, Wally. And thank you, Freedom Fighter, and of course, Mr. Jester. All right. Take care. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Spice Girl. I'm glad that it meant a lot to you.
Yes, Spice Girl, and also we send our condolences to you and your family, Spice Girl. I know that last Saturday you sent your husband off on his celebration and homegoing. So I remember you and your daughter Elisa, I believe, as well.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question. Who has a question? Please feel free to raise your hand. Raise your hand. You know what? I have a question. If Jester and Wiley, I hope I'm not putting either one of you on the spot, but I think it'd be good for people to know how the two of you so many years ago were connected, and then here you are again reconnected. Can either one of you tell the story of how you guys have mutual contacts in the global space of this event, and can you kind of touch on that so people can be educated?
Man, it's been so many years. Man, Bob, you have to refresh my memory.
Can't think back that far, huh?
I remember how we met. Drake for Truth introduced us.
Yes, that's
Drake
correct.
Good fellow, and we played around in the castle together for a long time. I was banned before you were out of the castle because Sweet Queen didn't like me talking about the Republic. She said, I was going to get the black SUVs and all that. And, I talked about the Republic and the system and how things were going to happen. And, of course, that's what you see happening now, I think.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And, but you were more on the monetary system in the background of things. And that was okay because, quite frankly, we coexisted in that realm. I thought, what do you think?
No, and I concur with that, but I think a lot of the problem is you and I weren't going along with the guru narrative of we were going to conspire against the audience that existed at that time to give platitudes of things that weren't true. And I tell people all the time, there is a boxcar of laundry behind me of gurus that would just love to tear me down.
Oh, I get that point. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Because you know this as well as I do. You've been around long enough to remember the Wild West show that this used to be, because truth was hard to find. And I was in the ditches, actually. I was actually in the ditches building a lot of this, doing a lot of the work behind scenes to help so many. And that came with a lot of people that wanted to, like I say, nip at my heels or tell me they could do it better. Or what I really hated is when I would do speaking engagements that all my notes would be taken and I would hear a certain individual give line for line the exact things I said, but twist them to their own benefit. And it was sickening to me that I quit doing it.
Well,
and I still hear people today using those same talking points about what's going to be. That has changed. And I'll tell you one thing I understand about contracts of being in the corporate world for a long time. And mind you, I worked on DoD contracts. So these things are very cumbersome and very changing constantly. And in that, the longer something goes on, the more that contract's going to change. It's inevitable. The longer things go, things change. It's just the way of life for us. So when I hear people still latched on to old ideas of things that were 20 years ago, and I can see this system being built, those ideas and those talking points are long dead and gone. But so many in this community are still spouting those as fact and have people so twisted up. And it's disheartening. It really is disheartening because it doesn't have to be like that.
The people should be smarter by now. And that's the part that frustrates me to no end, is that fact that the same things are going on for so many years. And you'd think that people would get an idea that something's wrong when they're hearing the same crap over and over and it never comes to fruition. That's the part that makes me crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, how amazing is it that people will believe that stuff over and over, no matter what? And the reason is that's what they like to believe. But, it is what it is.
I think we would all like to believe a lot of that, Bob. We hope that that's true. We want it to be true, but in reality, it's not.
That's correct. That is correct. But, we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think there's good people out there doing great work, breaking things down. And then there's some that just have turned it into a monetization system of how they sustain themselves. And I have no problem with that. But the problem is they're being disingenuous. If they want to monetize it, I'm okay with that.
The problem I have is there's a bunch of people out here. They're all hurting. You guys that are all here on this call are looking for some news. You're looking for some good news. You're looking for something that tells you that we're on the right track and we're going the right direction. And the people that are out there giving the same bullshit, excuse me for my French, and that I'm that way, it is what it is. And here's the thing. Those guys are using that to monetize the system on people that can't afford it. And that's what chaps my ass.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
How do you really feel, Jester?
Yeah.
Well, I've been doing this for as long as you have, or maybe not quite as long, because you started with. I remember when I got started on this, and I was no one, and everybody here doesn't know this story, but I was no one, and that's a fact. But I was curious because I didn't understand what was going on because it didn't make sense to me. That's why I reached out to Drake for Truth. That's how I got to know you, Wiley, because Drake introduced us. And that's how I got to know Duck, and that's how I got to know the other, because I messed around until I got to know these folks. And these guys have been doing it. Wiley's the only one that I'm aware of at this point in time that's been doing it longer than I have. And that's a fact. But there's a bunch of them out there that are still doing the same thing they always were, taking advantage of the same people they always did. And that frustrates me because we got truth here, freedom fighters. I mean, I don't know. The whole Seeds of Wisdom thing kind of frustrates me a little bit because I think that was a good platform. Don't get me wrong. I think they were in it for truth. I just don't think the whole drama thing was in anybody's best interest, quite frankly. And so there's got to be a place for truth. This is all there is right now. This little island, you, me, and freedom. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I'll be very sincere and candid with people. A lot of the people I met through this have helped me get to where I am because they knew about some of these systems and they were like, hey, can we have a conversation? And they would talk to me about it. And it would bring clarity to things I didn't know about. And I was so grateful for that. But it was like, you can't share this because it's not out there yet. And I'm like, I wish I didn't know now. how can I keep this to myself? Everyone should know this. So it really hasn't been until the last 4 or 5 years to where we're getting articles that are breaking what's being built down. And I tell people all the time, how can it be today, every day, when the system and a platform for paying everybody is still being built?
Right.
But it's not what people truly want to hear. There's a subset that wants to hear that information, and I applaud everybody that does that work. And it's highly needed.
Well, the confirmation bias is strong with the opium crowd. Is what it is. That's not what we're giving out here, guys. I think you probably figured it out by now. Yeah, I hear you, Wiley. I mean, we've been doing this a long time, and I'm the same way. I had the same scenarios that you did where I didn't know something, but somebody out there did, and they helped me with it. And I didn't ask to be here, but here I am. So it is what it is, right?
No, and I think that's something that maybe our audience doesn't know about is they don't know outside of the hours that's put into this. They don't know the vitriol that comes with it. They don't know that dark side, and they don't know the emails or text or DMs you get that are just so nasty and snarky about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth.
And to that, I just say, I'm going to keep doing me. I will keep doing me. You go do you. And if you're so concerned about what I'm doing, maybe you need to look at yourself.
There you go. That's a good idea.
I can look at myself in the mirror and know that I've provided what I can provide to help without misleading.
Right.
And it's just the sad reality of what this is. And that's why I kind of left the community and went on to do not-for-profit work, because my heart was in that, and it was going to take a lot more time to provide that, to do the work I was doing versus kind of to stay in the community.
Well, and that's kind of why I disappeared for as long as I did till you made me come back.
Yeah, I didn't make you.
Well, I know you didn't. But it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. And you know what? I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't trade anything for your friendship or Freedom Fighters' friendship. I wouldn't do it. This is awesome. I'm telling you. I feel like this is what I was supposed to do. And so there you go. I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It was all divine timing.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, folks, many of you know I was involved with help setting up a group many years ago. I don't know what they're doing today. I can't speak to that. I resigned my position. I walked away, so I don't know what that's doing over there. But during my duration of doing that for over 10 years, there is more people involved in this than you would think. And you would be surprised at some of the people that are involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
This reaches across generations. It reaches across ethnic boundaries. It is a complete shift in our societies and what people are going to be able to do and how we're going to be able to help others if we so choose.
Mm-hmm. That's profound, because for you to know how far this reaches and the level of people that are involved, I think the average person who is in dinar land only sees the people that are in their room, or the quote unquote guru who's giving them intel. They don't really understand the magnitude of this to really understand it totally and completely and appreciate it as much.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I can tell you of complete church groups that are involved.
Mm-hmm.
Ex-professional athletes, some people that used to be singers that don't quite have a following or don't have music on the radio now that are involved. I mean, I've met all kinds of people just from everywhere. I mean, I've met people from Ireland to Australia to Africa. I mean, it's always interesting to me when you could hear someone else's take on it, and then you hear that they're getting no information. So if it wasn't for some channels like this, sometimes they don't get anything.
That reminds me what you just said. That reminds me, I just recently learned because of a Canadian group that D. Gross connected me to, where there are so many other countries where they don't get any information about this in their countries. They have to tune into the U.S. to get whatever information about it. Because even in their own countries, there may be censorship to some degree about the event. So
I'll tell you one thing I heard when I first started in this, and there was two things I heard that kind of baffled me, and they stunned me when I first heard it. The first one was like, no one is going to be so big to be a new Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. Just not happening. People can forget that now. And I'm like, okay. And we were talking about that, and they told me, how should I say it? I kind of lost my train of thought there. I'm sorry. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me.
Was it along the lines of where the misinformation that's being put out there about the amount of wealth, and I mean, the wealth is going to be there, but to the extent that it's been put out there along with Zim, Humanitarian Projects, so forth.
They really didn't bring that up, but that's a whole other ball of wax to experience I've had, that I believe that Zim's not going anywhere. I want to be wrong. I wish I were wrong, but I'm sorry to say, just everything that's been written on it shows us that Zimbabwe's already moved to their ZIG gold-backed dollar, and everything else is obsolete. But what I was going to get to was when, and mind you, we were working with Treasury, we were working with State Department, we were working with a lot of different people and a lot of different organizations that told us this stuff. And when you hear it from them, you're like, they're very much speaking the truth. And I had a conversation, and they were telling me, and I said, what protections are in place for people? And they asked, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, some banks that are going to be doing this don't have wealth management and things like that already built into them. And a lot of banks do. A lot of banks will refer you right to their wealth management divisions. And that's fine to go give them a look. And they told me that many people will be broke in the first 3 months. And I says, what do you think? 60, 70%? And without blinking, they told me 90. 90% of everybody in this investment will be broke in the first 3-4 months. And I said, can you expound on that? And he says, because people are not used to this type of wealth. They're going to go out and buy cars, homes. I mean, I had people telling me that they were going to buy these homes that were just 10, 15,000 square feet, had a helicopter landing pad. I mean, all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa. You live in a 3,000 square foot nice home now. Why do you need all of that? But I'm like, hey, you do you, But I'm thinking, like, with a mansion comes big problems. AC unit goes out. Those can be very expensive. I have a friend that works for Citibank, has a really nice house over at Loch Lloyd here in Kansas City. I mean, multi-million-dollar home. I know his one AC system when it went out was almost $15,000 for one. And I'm thinking of this, and I don't think people equate to assets. Don't always agree with what your budgets may be. And people can spend themselves into debt faster than they ever got out. That's why you hear me preach a lot about wealth management. Wealth management. Get yourself talking to somebody.
That's the truth.
But I was just floored that they made that comment to me, that they have built this into their scenarios. They have built this into their calculations. They actually told me there wouldn't be a luxury car on a lot inside the United States when this happened.
And they're prepared to, and it sounds like they are prepared to benefit and profit from people that will go broke because
Go ahead, continue that, Freedom.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of homes. There's going to be a lot of foreclosures if people take loans if they don't pay cash. There's going to be people that are going to be in a situation where they're going to have to sell their assets, sell their house within short period of time. Even if they pay cash for it, they're going to have to be selling it in a year or so because they were just spending money like crazy. And they don't have any more money, so now I got to sell this $3 million house that I purchased with cash because I didn't know how to maintain money. Now they go, the bank will come in and swoop it up for, a fraction of the cost.
No, I'll buy it. That's what I do for. You guys do not understand. He's telling it right. This is what people like real estate investors are looking for every day of the week, is people that are retarded with their money and do stupid stuff and get in alerts like this and then have to sell pennies on the dollar. I'm telling you, we made a living off of this.
And this is where my advice would be. Go do your exchange, however that looks. If it's into a trust, however you do that. Exchange. Get your money protected and get your money working for you. Because now you have all this income coming in over here that you have on the balance sheet that you can go show any bank, any loan officer, anywhere, say, hey, I have XYZ income. Oh, and I have XYZ holdings. I want to borrow the money for the house.
That's it.
I mean, sure, feels great to pay for a house. There's no incentives for holding a house anymore. But still, it's why would you pay cash for it and tie that money up? And that money could work for you.
That's exactly true.
And this is what your wealth manager is going to do best for you, to advise you in these areas and say, hey, let me give you some different ideas. Let me throw some other scenarios at you. And that's what you're paying them for. But I heard that and I was just so dumbfounded. And mind you, this was a number of years ago. And it just dropped my jaws to the floor that they had baked this into the equations. And how fast do you boost an economy? You get people to buy houses, you get people to buy cars, you get people to buy all this, and you lift these industries out from where they're at.
The word that I heard, Wiley, was your money doesn't work for you if you spend it.
No.
Sorry.
And I'm not saying don't spend your money, don't enjoy your money. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying protect it and only spend interest. Never spend your nest egg. Never spend what you've got here. I mean, if I was going to spend what I had here, and I hear so many people, I'm going to go double dip and I'm going to go buy more currency. And why would you go buy more currency? Why would you not buy gold and silver, which backs any currency?
100%. Yep.
Because now you have something that's a different investment vehicle, but everything's being tied to it. So now you have something that's even more tangible than a currency that's going to fluctuate based on those. Just my 2 cents and my advice, dude. That 20% you might get a cup of coffee.
Well, that's not true at all, because quite frankly, I bought a monster box of silver back in, I don't know, it's been 10 years ago now, and it's worth double what I paid for it. So that's good advice, my friend.
Now, however, if you're sitting on that same amount of cash, you're holding less than what you had 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
And this is, everybody's not expected to know this stuff. Some understand these economic principles very, very concisely. However, this is again, your wealth management. This is where they help you. This is where you get in good with them. This is where you build relationships.
Oh, I just thought of something. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's why I wanted this call tonight to be different than what has been done in the past, to talk about some of this relationship building, how I look at, different investment vehicles that cross my desk. Is it something worthwhile? And talk about some of the project stuff that I've been involved with or done and that I know there are needs of. And one I didn't even speak of was horse therapy. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, go ahead, Freedom.
Yeah, on the topic of protecting one's wealth, you just dropped a bombshell with how the people that you were communicating with, they told you that they're actually prepared for a large amount of people to go broke within 6 months. Is it safe? I have two questions. Is it safe to say that in their preparation for people to go broke, that they may have incentivized individuals in dinar land, maybe leaders, to maybe convince dinar land of certain things to help them, to encourage them to go broke, not encourage them to go broke quick, but to really pump up and over exaggerate so much so that people really believe that they'll be the next Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, but knowing that they prepare for them to be Pookie or Ray Ray, not really Warren Buffett.
Would I say it was orchestrated and done? I can't go that far and say it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can tell you is there is a lawsuit out there. It's out there on one of the governmental websites. I think you can look it up on the FBI. It was a major lawsuit about certain people or intel providers that were being paid upwards of over $60,000 a year to give misleading information about only certain currency dealers can take care of you. Only this person's agreeable, and they all got caught in a snag, and they all got caught up in it. And some of those guys are still around today providing advice. How did they walk away from that so cleanly? I question.
Some of them got caught, but not very.
Yeah. Well, they all got caught, but how is that person or several of them still out there today?
Sounds like they had to cut deals.
I would say so. Yes.
Yeah, they copped. They copped pleas.
Tony went to jail for a minute, but that's another story.
Well, that was a different program where he had scammed people.
Right, that's true.
And don't get me wrong, Tony is masterful. I applaud him. He's a great public speaker, and he could pick the lint out of your pocket, and you'd freely give it to him.
Wow.
I talked to him
I truly wish him the best in what he does, but I wish he would flip the script on that a little bit and use it for good.
Yeah, there is that. I got hooked up with him one time by a third party, and he said, "You got to talk to this guy." And I'm like, I didn't know who it was. And I got in there and talked to him about the Republic and how things were going to have to go. And he said, "You're full of crap. If that was the way it was going to go, I'd know it because I'm big in this, and I don't know who you are." He said, "I'm Tony. I'm TNT Tony." I'm like, "Well, that explains a lot." That happened to me. I'm telling you. That how weird is that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. I'm going back to this on protecting one's wealth. What's your thoughts with people once they exchange and connecting with intel providers at events? Let's say if it's a riverboat ride or something like Titanic or something like that. What's your thoughts on that?
I would call that the Titanic 2.
Why is that? I see where you're going.
Well, let's look at what happened to Titanic 1.
Right.
Certain bankers and certain people wanted these guys to go along with their whole idea of a conspiracy that happened on Jekyll Island of bringing in a central bank, controlling everything, and these guys were against it, and the whole boat sank. I'm not a believer in coincidence. There's more to it than we'll ever know, but history being history, we'll move forward. You believe it would be a good idea to show up to an event that's so publicized that these are all new wealthy people per whatever, and they're all going to be in one location? I mean, why don't you just be J-Lo and say, I'm wearing a $10 million ring and I'm going to be at XYZ hotel, and you get robbed? That's a true story. This is why I emphasize being discreet. Don't do everything publicly. If you want to meet up with people, that's great, but don't do it in such large venues that are so publicly advertised. Not everyone has your best interest at heart.
Right. Right. Why in the world would someone agree to be on I don't just at any location announced with a bunch of other wealthy people, secluded?
It's ego, dude. It's ego. The ego
makes it.
You know, it's funny because my friend that took over this football program to bring Warriors into this event, I met a lot of bankers in there, and I met a lot of wealth managers in there, and I've learned things from them. But it was so funny as I'm leaving, and one of my bankers in Florida happened to see me. He goes, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" Well, I said, "I'm doing great." He goes, "Where are you at?" I said, "Up in the box." He goes, "Why didn't you invite me?" I looked at him without missing a beat, and I said, "You should have invited me to your box, not the other way around." And it's so he wasn't even in a box. You know what I mean? And like you say, it's ego for these guys. They want to rub elbows with those guys too. I just gave a guy the idea. He ran with it, and he was gracious enough to bring me along.
Hi.
Hey, Spice Girl, I know you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Just for one moment, I had to get back on when I heard Wiley say, "What Titanic 2?" You know, right now, a lot of gurus are getting new people who are coming in, and they have that new excitement. Some people have only been in this RV thing for maybe 2 months to a year or two, so they're excited. Like you said, just it's the ego, it's the ego, it's the ego. Because when I first started, I had, oh my God, I was going to do this, I was going to do this. But the higher powers have a way of humbling you, and you can think clear when you're not given so much at one time that you don't know what to do with it. Now I've had an opportunity to marinate on this stuff, and so it's kind of like, no, I don't want to be seen. Why would I want a 15,000 square foot house? I don't want to walk into the next room with the house that I'm in right now. I'm like, I don't want to go down the hallway. So, and this is just the truth. But we don't think that way when it's the possibility of having something that you've never had before and you've not been educated. And I don't mean like really formal wealth management classes, but you just haven't been around to hear people like you guys speak and other people who have been through it who are saying, hold your horses. Don't get so excited. I had a cousin of mine who wanted to throw a millionaire's party. I'm like, are you crazy? What are you talking about? I'm not going to go to the millionaire. Oh, why? You're putting a tag saying, come on over, everybody. Here are all millionaires. We got money on. We fly. No, I think it's, but some gurus, I can't say all of them because I don't listen to all of them anyways. They know they're new people. And with this newness, there's an excitement. I can buy, I can get, I can do. I don't have to worry about bills, and I don't have to be constricted like this country, this world is constricting us. But then when you settle down, you don't want to be that percentage of people who lost everything. You know, if I don't know anything else, I know never spend my principal. Don't spend it. Don't touch it. Decide what I'm going to spend, and that's a wrap. I had a friend of mine who, he grew up in this area, but he's a celebrity, a little movie star. and he had an exterminator who was doing work for him, on his properties, and something happened with his payment of his interest that was coming into him that month, I suspect. And he told the exterminator, he said, let me tell you something. I always pay you on time, and I have the money to give you, but I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm not giving you, if I don't have my interest check, it's going to be maybe 2 or 3 days late. I'll pay you, but I'm not spending my principal. So that was a good story I was told to. So I just want to share that with any newcomers who might be here. Don't spend your principal. Just don't. Trust what Wiley said. Don't spend your principal. What Justice thing and Freedom, don't spend your principal if you can help it. If you want to put aside $2 million or whatever to get that out your system, go to Dollar Tree somewhere and just buy the whole store.
Right? Yeah, buy the store as an investment. Get some passive income. Yeah, own the property on a triple net lease and rent it out. Buy people. If you want to, I'm not gonna get no investment advice. You can go buy some property, and Bank of America or Wells Fargo will be paying your rent from that property for 30 plus years. You want to spend money, spend it on something like that. But
that's all I had to say. I just had to jump in and chime in. Who wants to go to an event? Who wants to go to an event? I mean, think about what you're saying. I'm going to be on a boat with you. Why? Why? I don't want to do that. Titanic 2, and they're going to have Titanic 3 too. They keep event types, whatever they're going to have. It's going to be something. You're putting a sign that says we are all here. You want to come and get us? Come on. We're all here together. No, not that direction. Come over here. So with that being said, I'm out, but I'm going to stay on the call. I just enjoy y'all talking so much. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great. She kind of jogged my memory on some of the stuff that happened. I remember where somebody had put together a dinar dating site.
What? Oh,
yeah,
my Lord.
And they were introducing these future millionaires, whatever, with other people. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is, I mean, it's like watching two trains coming at each other just to have a wreck. And I'm just like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Jesus. I mean, I applaud what they were trying to do, but in the same token, I'm just like, nah, I don't think this is conducive.
It's like, what's next? Dinar OnlyFans? Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you real quick a little anecdote about when I was doing some overseas work. We had taken donations, and I was sending those over to Kurdistan, and I had some church groups call me and tell me, how dare you take care of people in another country before you think about the homeless and poor in this country? And I says, okay, but let me spell something out to you. Do you realize the liabilities of me giving somebody, even a homeless person or even a shelter, a blanket or any of the stuff we're giving away? I become liable and can be sued if somebody gets hurt by any of that. Our government makes it so hard to give money away, to give things away without all this legal problem and the litigiousness of our society. It's easier to put it in a third world country than it was to do it here at home.
Right.
And this is the other area where if you are going to do a project or whatever, man, you want an attorney. You want an attorney to look at everything you're doing so you're above board. Because every state's going to vary in what you do and how you do it. Every state has different caveats, just like every state has different caveats to an NDA. No one DA is a blanket, fit all, cure all, will speak to all.
Right. Right. I think we're getting people to get some ideas on questions. We got a question now, if you don't mind, if you would like to take it.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Trish, you can unmute, young lady. I'm surprised you're just now raising your hand to talk. You talk so much in the room.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, I just tapped it just to say thank you so much, and I enjoy you guys so much, and I have learned so much since I have crossed over to you all, and I would have been one of them ones on that Titanic too, and I'm so glad. Oh no, I mean, really, joke. Whenever I've only been doing this, Lord, this part I've only been here, but the other part I've been for about 3 years. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I've learned so much since I came over to you guys, and I mean, it's just like, wow. Every day I learn more, and I love the YouTube thing to Freedom Fighter. That you put it on there, because I get that alert, and I'm able to just on my way home put my phone on and just listen, and whenever I learn. So I kind of joke today while I'm at work, believe it or not.
What did you say? You kind of broke up. Can you repeat that?
Oh, I said during the day I'm at work, so I'm kind of joking back and forth, and I can't really this a lot, but on my way home I get to really listen and learn more. So I really like those short little things that I can listen to on the way home.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Good for you. I'm glad we can be of service to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Yes.
Well, this definitely won't be a short one to listen to on the way home.
All right. This is one of those trips to the next state.
I know. But I've popped in and out all night. So I do, I have listened to most of it tonight. So, but I had to mop the floor, and I had to do some dishes, and in between I've listened, and
no laying tile today.
Can't lay no tile. Hey, I've done it. All right, guys, you take care.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
you. Wow, this has been awesome. Any more questions? Please feel free to raise your hand. I know I said about an hour ago we don't want to tie up Wiley no more, but I think if anyone has any more questions, man, I'm just thinking about what you said, Wiley, and how these folks are prepared. Folks, just think about it, where they know that so many people are going to go broke. My mind immediately goes to there's contingency plans for people to go broke. It's a financial gain and a benefit for people to, one, purchase large ticket items and then can't afford them. It's like trading, making money on the way up and making money on the way down. Either way, just make sure you're on the right side. That's what you really got to do. Wiley gave you some tremendous gems, some jewels tonight. Jester came in and provided some tremendous jewels tonight. I encourage you all to take advantage, and I would encourage you to come back and listen to this call one more time, because sometimes it helps to hear the same thing more than once, to let it sink in. Even if you got to get on the call and fast forward to a certain section, no matter what it is, you want to really, this is $1 million game that you guys got tonight from Wiley and Jester. Who else? If you have questions, please go ahead and feel free to raise your hand.
You know, Freedom, it's kind of like I saw in the military, where military guys didn't have anything better to spend their money on but their car and all the latest electronic gadgets and stuff like that. But when they got hard up for money, they couldn't sell it to the military guys because they'd already spent their money as well. So you go right out the gate, and you go to any military base, you're going to see pawn shop after pawn shop after pawn shop for blocks. And you can get the latest and greatest and the best of everything discounted so cheap, because these guys went down and pawned it to get money back in their pocket, because they spent beyond payday.
Right. Wow.
I'll tell you a little something about me. I can go out and do a lot of things I want. But I think people would be surprised to know I shop at Goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that for a number of years, because when I was in the military, I think my best year ever, or not my best year, when I first started, I was making $400 a month. Not a lot of money, but I had to make that last a month. You couldn't even do it today.
Mm-mm.
So I had a girlfriend at the time, and she took me to a Goodwill in North Dallas. This is where all the celebrities and athletes and everybody lived. And she took me into a Goodwill. And I walk in there, and I'm finding designer shirts, Levi jeans, all this stuff, $3 and $4.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So all my buddies are like, "Wiley, look at you, big spender." And they used to call me Baywatch. I'm like, "Hey, Baywatch, look at you." It was a nickname I didn't care for, but it stuck around some guys because I'm wearing all this nice stuff. And I'm like, "Hey, let me turn you on to a secret. These Goodwills in these nice areas have some of the best, because these guys buy stuff and they buy it in such bulk, and then they outgrow it, or they can't wear it. They just send it down to the Goodwill because they ain't going to worry about holding no garage sale or anything. Like, they just chuck it down to the Goodwill and don't forget about it, and don't think twice about it."
Mm-hmm.
So I still pop into Goodwills. I was in Chicago last week. I popped into a Goodwill, bought, I think, my wife a couple pair of designer jeans, and I bought me 3 shirts.
There you go.
I'm not too proud to shop at a Goodwill. There's some great stuff in there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's all about keeping money in my pocket, but yet still having nice things, still going out to a nice dinner and stuff. I don't do it so much anymore. Just the cost of going out so ridiculous. But it's just little tips like that, little things like that you learn and you pick up. And I wouldn't say I'm frugal, but to some aspects I am in certain areas of my life.
See, but it's mindset. That's a wealth mindset. When you are being frugal, it is a wealth mindset, because, for some people might have been raised in an environment where, if they're frugal, they're criticized and called being cheap. Oh, you're cheap. Oh, you're cheap. But if someone goes to spend a lot of money on designer clothes from, a high-end shop, they're looked at as if they have a lot of money. But meanwhile, they're struggling to take care of themselves and their families. But the one that's considered being quote unquote cheap is not struggling, although they may look like they are, but they're not. And it's really about the mindset. And folks, it's what Wiley is sharing with you about him being frugal. If, like you said, there's nothing wrong with spending money, nothing wrong with, treating yourself once in a while. But I, encourage you to have a mindset of someone who's frugal. Be careful of getting caught up in social media and what you see people doing, and flaunting what they have, what they really don't have. But they might be renting expensive cars or homes, but they're on social media making it appear as if they are making a lot of money. You want to compete with that. Just be careful.
It's funny you say that. If I can expound on that just real quickly for the audience, and then if they want to wrap up, we can wrap up. It don't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
My first job when I left the military, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had a buddy that worked out in Hollywood. He ran an agency that did protective services for celebrities. And I called him and said, "Hey, I'm leaving the military. I get out in the next 20 some days." He goes, "Hey, come out and live in California with me. I'll put you to work, blah, blah, blah." So I go out there and I started guarding different people for different things. Especially if they had a movie premiere or something, they wanted to do the whole circuit, be seen in public, and let the paparazzi do all that, which was counterintuitive to everything I learned in the military about discretion, being discreet, overt, far different world. But what I learned is celebrities dress poor. And people that emulate celebrities want to dress like them as if you see them on the red carpet every day. And my daughter's guilty of this. And I see it and I said, "Why do you want to dress like that? Why do you need that purse? Why do you need this?" Because she's caught up in that. She sees that on the internet or wherever, and I'm just like, can you eat it? Can you eat that purse? Can you eat that designer dress? And it goes back to that when I'd see these celebrities, and I would see them lounge around and just walk around daytime as I'm providing these details, and you would swear they were homeless. Mm-hmm. And it just struck me as kind of backwards in our society. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I did not last long at that job. I made it 6 months. I couldn't stand the fakery of Hollywood. I couldn't stand the hurry up and wait on a movie set. And I just knew it wasn't going to be for me, and it wasn't going to be conducive to the person I was.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. It's all about mindset. Yep. All right.
Well, I appreciate everybody hanging with us this evening, and
this was good.
What you asked. It's been a pleasure to speak with you all. I pop into the room from time to time. I know I'm a little abrasive, and I just jump in. I've been trying to say good morning when I come in.
We enjoy you just being there and just being who you are, man. There's no etiquette at all needed.
You got a long way to go to get up to my scenario on that.
Well,
yeah.
You've set a whole different standard, Jester.
Yeah, Jester, you set the standard, the bar kind of high there, my man.
It is what it is. Everybody's got to be somewhere.
That's right. Awesome. Well, folks, this has been an absolute pleasure. We've had Wiley and Jester for 3 hours, and time went by fast. All right. It's amazing. All right, beautiful folks. If we're all set, and folks, I see some of you that came on kind of late. This call is being recorded, so you'll have the opportunity to go back and listen to it, and you'll appreciate it. All right, beautiful folks. Thank you, Wiley. Thank you, Jester. Thank you, Lady E. Thank you, everyone. We love you all. We appreciate you, everyone. Have a good night.
Freedom.
Well.
Don't forget
yes.
to do your announcements.
Oh, yes, folks. Thank you. I'll be screwing up. Folks, don't forget, we have the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room from 10 a.m. to 4 Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Saturday. And then we have Jester's Room as well, Jester's Place, from Monday through Saturday. And that's from 8 to 11 Eastern Standard on PM. And then also on Saturdays as well, Jester's Place is open at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard before the Saturday night call, as well on Saturdays at 9 Eastern. Then, of course, we have Goldilocks Global Banking News Podcast daily on YouTube, where, of course, you all will be able to get the call and catch up on everything. I think I got everything, Lady E. She keeps me in line, y'all, so I don't know what I'm doing half the times.
I got one of those too, so I know where you're coming from.
You know where I'm coming from.
I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah, man. All right. Awesome. All right, you folks, we appreciate you. We love you guys. Everyone be well. Have a good night. See y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Love you, brother.
Take care. Love you, brother. Bye-bye. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.